Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to your first class for paper number 2, Strategic Financial Management. This is arguably one of the most interesting subjects among all of your 8 papers. A lot of you would be interested in making a career in the world of finance, and this is your gateway to that. So one of the most interesting subjects, and Institute lately, you might have heard from the seniors, has actually raised the level of this subject quite well. The last 1 or 2 papers have asked very good papers for strategic financial management. Now, in terms of the course coverage, if you were to, the 2 subjects that I teach would be FR and SFM. So if you were to compare it with financial reporting, it's a much more smaller subject as compared to financial reporting, which is really big. You have a slightly smaller or a significantly smaller index. But having said that, it is still a very, very challenging paper. In terms of the paper coverage, the paper pattern, it is exactly the same across all the 8 papers. You will have question number 1, which goes in as a compulsory question. This will be for 20 marks. In SFM, you don't have a fixed weightage of the marks that come. Like in FR, you almost always have a 16-mark question and then a 4-mark question in question 1. Like a consolidation question, for example, will be a 16-mark question and then a 4-mark question. Here, you don't have such a strict weightage. It can be let's say 4 questions of 5 marks each. It can be 2 questions of 8 marks, 1 question of 4 marks, can be 2 questions of 10 marks. So there's no strict or a rigid weightage format over here, but it will be in total 20 marks, which will be compulsory. And then between question 2 to question 6, you will have to attempt any 4. So that is basically 20 into 4. That is 80 marks, a very standard paper pattern. Now, before we proceed, we want to kind of understand the overall mechanics of this subject. So, this subject would largely be sums and then be pure theory. So, what do you mean by sums? These are direct practical sums and illustrations. It is not like cases and case studies that like you have in direct taxes or like you have in financial reporting. These are not case studies. These are direct practical problems. So among all the 8 papers, if you were to ask which paper has the most practical problems, it is definitely strategic financial management. FR, for example, has a lot of case studies as well, like Ind AS is AS. There will be a lot of cases to solve, sums also. Costing will also have a lot of case studies, in costing, so there will be cases. Direct tax also cases and sums, but SFM would have pure sums. So these would not be case studies, so you don't have to comment on the treatment. You will have to solve and find possibly the best hedging strategy, the best value of a bond, etc. So out of your 100 marks, let us say 100 to 120 marks, agar aap total count karo, out of the 100 to 120 marks, let's take 100 marks, you will have around 80 marks, roughly 80 marks of practical problems. Proper sums, like in your inter-CA, you had sums on cost of capital, you had sums on capital budgeting, etc. Proper practical problems, and 20 marks of proper theory. So this is not case studies, this is direct theory. For example, if you have done in your inter-CA CAPM, capital asset pricing model, so something like distinguish between the systematic risk and unsystematic risk, let us say. अगर आपने कुछ सुना हुआ है तो distinguish between systematic and unsystematic risk, something like that. So this is pure hardcore theory. And theory earlier in the old course used to come as a separate question. One of the questions would be theory, and hence students would say कि ठीक है यार sums and theory के बीच में हम sums ही prefer करते because उसमें marks assured रहते. Theory में तो क्या depending on how we write we do get marks. The institute in the new syllabus has changed the paper pattern a little. So in almost every question from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in every question there would be a 4 to 5 mark theory question. There would be a 4 to 5 mark theory question. At least in 5 out of the 6 questions there would be a theory question in each of them. Now that makes it compulsory for a student to read theory, and hence we have also increased our focus on the theory. Earlier almost everyone would just do practical problems and say कि by theory एक बार go through कर लो. In any case that comes as an optional question. We recommend you to take the practical questions only because they give you assured marks. Now we can't take that approach. We have to study. 20 marks is huge if you are aware in your CA final. 20 marks is huge. So you can't really play around with theory as well because now you will have to attempt theory in the new syllabus. You can't just say कि ठीक है theory option में रखे because every question, so you'll have around in every question 15 to 16 marks of practical problems and then 4 to 5 marks of a theory question coming in, and as a result theory is something that you will have to kind of attempt. So are we clear with this? Please be a little more responsive. Please let me know if you have any queries. Put it on the chat or please be responsive. Yes, are we clear with this? Chalo, great. Now, if we have the index over here, so when we look at the index, there are 2 sections of the index. Again, for the timing, probably you will have just the relevant extract or the soft copy of this. In just a few days, you will get the hard copy once we are done. Now, the index is made up of 2 parts. There are close to 11 chapters over here, which is the practical part. So these are the practical topics. All sums would be covered over here, and then you have the theory. So over here a few topics which are exclusively linked to theory. So these topics are, let's say, linked to theory. Now in today's class we'll be starting with the first chapter that involves valuation of securities. So as we solve every theory that is covered in a chapter, in a practical chapter, we'll do that. But there are certain chapters like securitization, startup finance, जिसमें एक भी sum नहीं है. It is a hardcore theory topic which we keep right at the end. So when we look at our weightage, now your SFM study material is a much more, I would say, balanced study material, because almost every chapter that you will study will have an assured exam weightage. Because if you see, it's a smaller index, around 11 topics on 11 to 12 topics on the practical side and around 5 to 6 topics on the theory sides. In total, around 16 to 18 topics in total, and hence it becomes a little more easier for the institute to ask you questions from each chapter, almost each chapter. Unlike certain big subjects like FR and direct tax, where the index goes into more than 30 odd topics, where it becomes difficult to check each and every item. Here almost each and every chapter will get exam weightage, though the degree of coverage is different. So there will be certain chapters which are having a higher weightage. So chapters like, so when we look at our index, chapters like valuation, mergers, portfolio, foreign exchange, derivatives. Now these topics, these 5 topics would at least come from anywhere between 10 to 20 marks. Each of these topics would come. So these are your tier 1 topics, the important ones. Tier 1 topics. These topics would come anywhere between 10 to 20 marks for sure. So when we look at these 5 topics, these are tier 1, so around 10 to 20 marks each. That's fairly a wide range. Sometimes you might get, but having said that, to get a sure 10 mark weightage is quite a big thing. So these topics would get 10 to 20 marks on an average each. In certain cases like foreign exchange, we have seen papers यहाँ पे पूरा 20 marks आ जाता है. In certain cases valuation के ऊपर आ जाता है. So that way you will get around 10 to 20 marks each out of the 120 marks paper. Then you have a couple of tier 2 topics which are like mutual funds, interest rate management, and international financial management. These topics would come for anywhere between 5 to 10 marks each. So there would be 5 to 10 marks each, and in the tier 3 you will have the remaining topics which would involve risk management, corporate valuation, etc. Risk management, corporate valuation, which will probably come for, if at all it comes, कभी कभार तो आएगा भी नहीं, but let's say from 0 to 5 marks in terms of the weightage. So over here you can just jot down this weightage, please. Let me know once you're done. So in rough somewhere, you can just jot down the topics and their respective weightage. So tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 topics, and let me know once you're done, please. Okay. Just a second. Okay, fair. Any problems still here? Any questions about the overall subject or stuff? No. Okay, great. So if you see your index, you have mergers, portfolio, valuation. We'll be starting with this chapter number 3 on valuation of securities. Foreign exchange, derivatives, interest rate, currency, international financial, corporate valuation and allied, and risk management and mutual funds. Then comes theory. Theory में आपको काफी सारा चीज पढ़ना होता है, but as such we put theory as a separate section only. Theory as a separate section, so we don't then segregate within theory. Sir, how similar is this to the CFA level portion, level 1? A lot of this is, so when you look at the overall CFA syllabus, if you have done your CA final, except for a few topics like fixed income, CFA has a little more. Alternative investments, CFA has a little more, but other than that, your topic on derivatives, your topic on corporate finance, your topic on portfolio, they're largely they will definitely be largely similar to what you have done in your financial reporting, just that you'll have to practice a little more MCQs over here. There would be a lot more sum solving over here, so the pattern would be different, but the concepts would be kind of similar to your CFA level 1. You should be easily able to manage that. And once you've even done financial reporting, one of the most tricky topics in CFA is FRA, financial reporting and analysis. That is also similar to your CFA level 1. So you'll just have to study ethics and a little more about fixed income. Otherwise your CA final can easily take you through the CFA level 1 quite easily. Okay, fair. Anything else? Okay, ठीक है. So we'll jump into the first topic now. This goes into the valuation of securities. This is one of the most important topics. I mean, in terms of exam weightage, maybe you will get anywhere between 10 to 20 marks, but it kind of puts a very strong base for your overall understanding. So this is on valuation. Till now we have been doing in your inter-CA and stuff, we have been doing accounting ratios, leverages, capital structure, but ultimately your understanding of finance is cemented once you are able to value assets. So over here you are going to value securities. So before we proceed, can you give me some examples of securities? When we look at this chapter, it says valuation of securities. What do you mean by securities? Can you give me some example of securities? Bonds, yes, very nice. Anything else? Bonds are securities. Yes, shares are securities. Okay. अभी अपने को चैलेंज आएगा. अपन ने दो चीज बोल दिया, bonds and shares. डिबेंचर्स और बॉन्ड्स भाई भाई होते हैं. वैसे डिबेंचर्स, बॉन्ड्स, डिपॉजिट्स, ऑल ऑफ दिस आर कॉल्ड एज फिक्स्ड इनकम और डेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. Very nice. Something like commercial papers, mutual funds, very nice. So these are also securities. So when we look at this chapter, good inputs. When we look at this chapter, we look at the valuation of securities, and two very important pillars of this chapter is valuation of bonds, which is very difficult. We'll start unfortunately with something which is slightly difficult because bonds आपने अब तक खास करके कुछ किया नहीं है. Then going into the valuation of equities. So according to me, something like, I mean, someone just asked about CFA, two items which in CFA kind of become separate subjects, like portfolio is a separate subject in CFA. In a similar way, equity valuation is a separate subject, fixed income is a separate subject. Both of them are a part of the same chapter. So it's a very interesting chapter, and when we're trying to value securities, you don't need to kind of write down anything. It's just we're giving an overall overview of this chapter. So when we're looking at securities, a lot of times we'll go behind valuing bonds. Valuation of bonds, which on its own can actually warrant a separate chapter, and valuation of equity, again, which on its own can warrant a separate chapter. So these are the two most important pillars of this chapter. Apart from that, Institute has also had some other items like a money market instrument. This is a recent addition. You will not find this in our earlier books. It was not there in the earlier Institute study material as well. This is there in the from the May 2021 study material onwards. So going forward, there will also be a few money market instruments. Sir, what do we mean by money market instruments? These are short-term, very short-term instruments, like you might have heard, but you might not have probably applied them in practice. Something like treasury bills, something like repo and reverse repo. Have you heard about this? Repo repurchase, yes. Something like commercial paper. One of the students mentioned commercial paper. All of these are real short-term instruments. And money market instruments have also been added by the Institute in your study material. So money market instruments, and then other securities like convertibles. Convertibles have feature of debt also, convertibles have feature of equity also. So पहले आपको bond valuation आना चाहिए, फिर equity valuation आना चाहिए, and फिर convertibles को आप value कर सकते हो because it has features of both. Then in certain special cases like rights, right shares, if you are issuing a rights, then how are you going to value a rights, etc. So there are a few special valuation cases covering these two, which can also involve convertibles. Convertibles is a convertible bond, for example, or right shares. So a large part of this first chapter will go behind valuation of bonds, which I would rate as a slightly more difficult topic. Then valuation of equity, and then going into money market instruments. Once we are comfortable with valuation of bonds and equity, we can also go into convertibles as well as right shares. I'm sorry. once we are comfortable with yes, Harshad Mehta effect, a lot of definitely money market I forgot is something which is used a lot in Harshad Mehta. तो आपने सुना ही होगा उसके बारे में, if not in your other usages. So this is your overall breakup of the chapter. So we'll treat this as one single chapter. अपन थोड़ा bonds करेंगे, फिर थोड़ा equities करेंगे, फिर वापस bonds के advanced concepts करेंगे, and we'll take it in a way that you can handle it fairly well. We have kind of revamped the study material that you have. A lot of new questions have been added, especially considering the trend of the institute's recent papers where they have kind of increased the level of SFM significantly. So we have also kind of included much more complex problems and a lot more problems for your practice as well. Okay? तो नारियल तोड़ा जाए, नारियल तोड़ते अपना भी, and we'll go to the first topic, the first chapter. Please do let me know if you have any queries. Preferably just put that in the chat. I'll try to come back to it as soon as possible. If not, you can just raise a hand. In any case, at the end of the lecture, we can have a discussion, open discussion, where you can raise a hand and we can quite easily discuss as well. Okay? Chalo. So we'll start with the valuation of securities, and within that, in today's class, we will start with the valuation of bonds. Bonds. What do you mean by bonds? Well, bonds is just a term that represents a fixed income instrument. The basic difference between an equity instrument and a debt instrument is equity gives you variable returns. Dividends can be fluctuating. Whereas bonds give you a fixed return. Your interest is fixed. Typically, your tenure is also fixed. So bonds as such are much more easier to value because we know that what we are going to get in the future. So for example, when I look at a bond, let us say there is a government bond. Bonds hai, debentures hai, all of these mean the same thing. Non-convertible debentures, bonds, all of these are interest-bearing instruments which are redeemable. What are bonds? They are instruments which are interest-bearing and which are redeemable as well. So you will get your money back, a fixed amount of your money back, and also a fixed amount of interest. So let us say you have a government bond issued by the government of India. You have a government bond. So let's say this is a 10% government bond with a face value of rupees 1000. Acha, what do you mean by 10%? This 10% is what is called as coupon. Have you heard about what is coupon? Have you heard about the term coupon? Coupon rate, that is right. Coupon rate is nothing but the interest rate. This coupon gives you how much is the interest that you are going to earn from the bond. And this interest, tell me, is a percentage of what? Is interest a percentage of market price or is interest a percentage of face value? Of the face value, that is correct. What is the logic? Just for your knowledge, what is the logic of calling this as a coupon? In the older days, क्या होता था? अभी तो डीमैट करके एक सिस्टम है, डीमटेरियलाइज. You don't have physical certificates. However, in the older days, you had the physical certificates. एंड फिजिकल सर्टिफिकेट्स ऐसे एक बॉन्ड का सर्टिफिकेट होता था, एंड जब भी आपके घर पे बॉन्ड का सर्टिफिकेट आता था नीचे सब कूपन्स रहते थे, बिकॉज बॉन्ड्स आर ट्रांसफरेबल. अभी कंपनी किधर ट्रैक रहेगा किसके पास कौन सा क्या बॉन्ड है? सो दे वुड गिव यू कूपन्स दैट ऑन 30th June you can give this coupon, on 31st December you can give this coupon, and so on. And these coupons would entitle the holder to the interest. Now in the real older days, people did not have as much systems of keeping records, did not have computers, did not have dematerialized system, and hence a person who would at the date of interest come with the coupon of interest, the company would give them, let us say, the interest in the real older days. And hence the legacy term, we used to call this as coupon rate, the rate that is written in the coupon which will entitle you to the interest. So इसके लिए अपना word coupon rate का origination होता. Coupon rate is the rate of interest. Then what is face value? Why is face value an important thing? Acha, is it necessary face value and market value have to be the same, or they can be different? They can be different. Then why is okay, tell me this. If an investor has to buy a bond, will he from the market, let us say if he has to buy a bond from the market, will he buy at the market price or will he buy it at the face value? Market price or face value? Market price. Then why is the coupon, an investor is actually investing in the market price? For example, it is very much possible that the market price of this bond, let us say, can be something else as well. For example, let us say can be 1100 as well. So the investor will have to pay 1100, but the coupon is a percentage of face value. Why do you think is a coupon a percentage of face value? Why should it? I mean, it should ideally be the percentage of market price, right? Because as you guys have rightly pointed out, an investor, when he buys a share from the market, he buys it at the market price. Then why is, you are right, coupon is a percentage of face value. That is exactly correct. A company cannot really keep track of who is purchasing and at what price. It is kind of impossible to do that. So the company says, well, you know what, forget about this. We can't keep a track of someone can come and fight कि हमने तो 1100 पे खरीदा, हमने 1200 में खरीदा, हमने 900 में खरीदा. How will a company keep a track of how, at what price each and every investor and what did they have bought? So the company says, we will have a common base. You buy at whatever price. It's a deal between a buyer and a seller. You buy at whatever price. We don't care about it. However, we will have to have a reliable base for paying the face value, which people will not argue, and hence the interest is paid as a percentage of face value and not as a percentage of market price, because the company cannot really keep track of the investors and at what price they have bought. So it keeps a common base and it says आप कोई भी भाव पे खरीदो आपको इंटरेस्ट तो यही रेट पे मिलेगा, और ये मैंने आपको पहले से कम्युनिकेट करके रखा हुआ है. So it is not that you can come back after 6 months and raise a fight or put a case on me. I have clearly mentioned in my terms that it will be a percentage of my face value only, and face value is communicated to you. Okay, again, redemption. Bonds typically have a fixed tenure. So let us say this is a bond with a term of 5 years. This is a bond with a term of 5 years. This is, let us say, issued on 1st April 2010, let us say, which means it will redeem by 31st March 2015. It is a fixed tenure, usually. Now, when the bond redeems, if nothing is given in the question, redemption will happen at what amount? Unless given otherwise, in this case, bond will redeem at what value? In our example, at the face value, that is right. So the purpose of face value in practice is to set a base for redemption as well as set a base for interest. Bond जो इश्यू करता है वो बंदा आपको दो चीज देता है. वो आपको इंटरेस्ट देता है, इंटरेस्ट इज अ परसेंटेज of face value, and second वो आपको आपका principal value back देता है, which is usually, unless given otherwise, at face value. Sometimes redemption can also happen at what you call as premium. Let us say in this question, if the question has told you that the bond redeems, if this in this case the question has told you that the bond redeems at a premium of 10%, in that case what will be the redemption value? Will it still be just 1000? No, it will be 1100. That is correct. So bond can redeem at a premium, which is, let us say, at 1100. Perfect. Now, if this is a typical bond which is given to you, bond 10% bond which is issued by the government of India, which has a face value of 1000, a term of 5 years, and it is issued on 1st of April 2010, and on this date you want to value the bond. Let us say you want to find the value of the bond. So in the world of finance, remember, the value of an asset is always calculated as a present value of future cash flows. You might have done this subconsciously when you did capital budgeting in your inter-CA, where you were trying to value a project and अपन NPV करते थे. याद है आपको NPV, net present value? And while you do NPV, you do PV of CI, that is present value of cash inflows, minus PV of CO, that is present value of cash outflows. So when we do this NPV analysis, what are we doing? We are finding the value of a project. It can be a dam, it can be a bridge, it can be a machinery, it can be a plant. We are trying to find the value. We have tried to find the value of that project looking at the present value of the future cash flows. In a similar way, if I were to find the value of a bond, I will have to find the value of not just a bond, not just a share. This is like the bedrock. This is like the base for your valuation, that the value of an asset is taken as the present value of future cash flows. Sir, what do you mean by this? Acha, if someone asks you that what are the cash inflows that you are going to get from the bond, we will say कि अच्छा अगर हमने bond में आज invest किया, what are the cash inflows I am going to get? Years 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 CI, or the cash inflows I will get is in year 1. What do you guys think? How much will I get? What is the cash inflow that will get in this bond in year 1? Can you tell me? 100 rupees, that is correct, which is 1000 into 10%. In the second year, how much will we get? Again 100, third year 100, fourth year 100. अच्छा, fifth year में भी क्या हमें सिर्फ 100 मिलेगा क्यों? Will I get only 100 of interest? That is right, 100 for interest as well as 1000 for principal. And as a result, in total, I will get 1100. So, can I say that the value of the bond is nothing but 1500? Is that correct? 1500 is the total of all cash inflows. So this is the total CI, total cash inflow. Is the value of the bond is the value of the bond 1500? Should I be ready to pay 1500 for this bond today? Yes or no? Just tell me whether 1500 is correct or not. क्या होना चाहिए अपन देखेंगे. No, why not? Because we are ignoring time value. 100 rupees received in the fourth year is not equivalent to 100 rupees received now, is not equivalent to what you are paying now, and hence we cannot take blindly 1500. You will have to take the present value. You will have to take the present value of 1500. And how do we do that? Well, you will have to have a discount factor. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. You will have to find a discount factor or a present value factor. Let us keep this aside for the timing and let us go back to our inter-CA. Assuming you have not left capital budgeting, in capital budgeting also, we used to take a discount factor, remember? We used to take a discount factor, usually it was given to us in the question. But if I were to ask you generally, what was that discount factor? Not 10%, 12%, what was that? What जो cut-off rate अपन लेते थे वो क्या होता था? What was the discount rate that you would take while evaluating a capital budgeting project? Expected rate of return, which was usually linked to your cost of capital. If you remember, इसके लिए आपने अपने इंटर-CA में पहले cost of capital पढ़ा रहेगा, उसके बाद capital budgeting पढ़ा रहेगा, because we said that well, how much should the company what is the minimum required rate of return for a company, which we used to study as cost of equity, cost of debt, and then a weighted average cost of capital. So what is the minimum required rate of return? That was usually your cost of capital, and we used to then be taught that the cost of capital, that is correct, COC, the cost of capital was the minimum required rate of return on our project. This is something that you should at least earn on your project. Okay, that was very nice. That was on your capital budgeting side. Now taking that analogy in case of bonds. Now we are looking at a very specific case. Instead of a capital budgeting project, we have a bond project. As an investor, now let us say we are thinking from the perspective of an investor. If we think from the perspective of the issuer, thoda alag hota hai, but let us say for the timing we are thinking from the perspective of the investor. Is it compulsory that the investor has to buy this bond only? Is it possible that he can buy other bonds as well? Or he has to compulsorily buy this Government of India bond only, or he can also buy other bonds? There would be other bonds in the market. What do you guys think? Is it possible? He can also invest his money in a 5-year bank fixed deposit, for example. He can also invest it in a 5-year bank fixed deposit, which is also going to give him a steady return, and then the principal back after 5 years. So there will be something called as a market rate of interest. लाइक इफ यू ट्रैक, अभी तो अपन आर्टिकलशिप में अभी अच्छे खासे पैसा कमा लेते. इफ आई आस्क यू the rate of interest, if you have tried to even put a fixed deposit these days, if I were to ask you the market rate of interest, would you be aware? I mean, can you just give me on an average on a fixed deposit how much do you earn? अपने आर्टिकलशिप में अगर उतने पैसे मिलते रहता कि फिक्स डिपॉजिट डाल पाए तो बात ही अलग होता था. यस, around 5 to 6 in very rare cases around 7 or yes, so anywhere between 5 to 7% is a fixed deposit rate. That's quite good. अपने थोड़ा अच्छा खासा कमा रहे लग रहे कि फिक्स डिपॉजिट. हमारे टाइम पे आर्टिकलशिप में फिक्स डिपॉजिट नहीं, बोरोइंग लेना पड़ता था उतना. We used to barely get anything in our articleship, but I don't know, times seem to have changed, but it's quite good. So around 5 to 6%, let us say, is a market rate of interest. आपको पता है, not a few years, I mean not long ago, maybe around 5 or 6 years back, these fixed deposits used to even fetch you, a decade back, they used to fetch you around 10 odd %. So the market rate of interest can keep on changing. The market rate of interest keeps on changing. Just for your knowledge, like RBI is there, RBI changes the rate of interest. For example, if inflation increases, RBI is worried कि भाई inflation बढ़ रहा है तो RBI will increase the rate of interest. If inflation is lower, RBI will keep the rate of interest lower as well, for example. So the market rate of interest can keep on changing. But once you issue a bond, the coupon rate on the bond remains fixed. अभी जब भी आपने बॉन्ड इश्यू किया तभी मार्केट रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट 10% है, कल उठ के 5% हो जाएगा, 15% हो जाएगा, बट योर बॉन्ड विल स्टिल कीप ऑन पेइंग द 10% रिटर्न. Are we getting this? So there will be a market rate of interest to start with that should ideally be given to you in the question. So for example, let us say there is a market rate of interest. What do you mean by market rate of interest? This is the rate of interest that an investor will earn in the market. अपन cost of capital को कैसे define करते थे? If not this, what is the opportunity cost? Remember, cost of capital was the opportunity cost. If not this, the next best. Opportunity cost. In a similar way, if not this bond, if I were to invest in the next best bond, if not this bond, if I were to invest in the next best bond, how much would the next best bond fetch me? For example, let us say the next best bond would fetch me 12%. The market rate of interest is 12%. Now you might wonder that if the market rate of interest is 12%, why will investors buy this bond at 10%? They might not. If the government, for example, says that this is a bond which is giving 10% return, investors would say that, well, I can invest my money today and earn a 12% return. So whether I invest in you or I invest somewhere else, I need to earn a 12% return. Now I can't force you to give me a 12% coupon. If you give me 12% coupon, I'll be happy. But if you don't give me a 12% coupon, I am not going to buy your bond by paying the full value of 1000. I'll just give you a classic example. The value of a bond is a present value of future cash flows. So let us say मेरे को यहाँ पे discounting factor लेना है. And discounting factor आप मेरे को बताओ क्या होना चाहिए. There are two rates which are there in front of you. One is 10%. One is 12%. I'm an investor. I want to find the value of a bond that I should be willing to pay. What should I take as a discounting factor? 12%. That is exactly right. This is 12%. So discounting factor will be taken as 12%. Achha, now how will you find these discounting rates? A lot of you would have done this, but I'll assume that आपको नहीं पता and we'll do this from scratch. How will you find the discounting factor? Let's say मेरे को first year का factor find करना है. How will you do that? 1 upon 1.12. That is exactly right. What is the rationale behind this? Well, discounting is another is the inverse, if you call, of compounding. For example, in your foundation, you might have studied the compound interest formula, that is A, that is amount, which equals principal into 1 plus R raised to N. Barabar ke nahi? Where amount is the amount that you get in future, that means FV, that is the future value. P is the amount that you will invest now, that is the present value. 1 plus R is the rate of interest, N is the number of years. So if I were to rearrange this formula, that is, I will get FV upon 1 plus R raised to N equals PV, the present value. That is, FV, that is a future value, into 1 upon 1 plus R raised to N gives you the present value, and this term over here, just for our knowledge, is called as the discounting factor. जैसे this is the compounding में आप multiply करते हो, discounting में आप divide करते हो, because in compounding you are going from the present value to the future value, whereas in discounting you are going from the future value to the present value. So over here in our example, this is nothing but 1 upon 1 plus R, this is the time value, raised to N. Let us say first year, sir, raised to 1 क्यों आएगा? Because this 100 you are going to receive after 1 year. This 100 you are going to receive after 1 year. Then 100 rupees after 1 year is equivalent to how much today? So on your calculators you will do 1 divided by 1.12. We'll come to, you will take 4 decimals, let's say 0.8928, या फिर आप अगर राउंड ऑफ भी कर सकते हो तो लेट्स से we'll round off the fourth number, we can keep it as it is as well. 0.8929, let us say 5 or above we will round off. So this is, let us say 0.8929. okay, so this is, for example, if I were to find the present value of cash inflows, 100 into 0.8929 will come to what? Let's say 89.29, and you will put this into the memory. What does this actually conceptually indicate? It indicates that if someone tells you that I'll pay you 100 rupees after 1 year, in order to earn a 12% return, you should be prepared to invest only 89.29 today. I will again repeat. यहाँ पे तो bond के 5 साल है, but if you did not have 5 years, if you barely had a 1 year bond and the bond said that I'll give you 100 rupees after 1 year, how much should you be willing to invest today so that you earn a 12% return? We will say that, okay, if I invest 89.29 today and I get 100 rupees back after 1 year, I would have earned a 12% return. Just for your knowledge, we're just doing the absolute basics. If you do 89.29 on your calculators into 1.12, 89.29 into 1.12, you will find exactly 100. So basically, अगर आपको 12% रिटर्न कमाना है एंड कोई आपको बोलता है दैट वो आपको 100 रुपया ला के देगा, आप उसको आज 89.29 ही दो. बट बॉन्ड बोलता है आई एम नॉट जस्ट गिविंग यू 100 रुपीज एट द एंड ऑफ द फर्स्ट ईयर, आई एम गिविंग यू अ सीरीज ऑफ कैश फ्लोज. आई एम गिविंग यू अ सीरीज ऑफ कैश फ्लोज. 100 rupees I'm giving you at the first year, 100 rupees I'm giving you at the second year, third year, fourth year, and then fifth year I'm giving you 1100 rupees. We're not doing accounting. We're doing valuation. So we don't really care whether it is revenue in nature, whether it is capital in nature. We say कि भैया cash flow, cash. So in the second year as well, we will take 100 into 0.8929. Is that correct? 100 into 0.8929. That is incorrect. Why? Because, well, this, if I were to do discounting, this 100 is going to be received after 2 years. This 100, for example, is going to be received after 2 years, and hence this has to be raised to 2. We are just doing the absolute basics. Assume अपने foundation से कभी time value of money किया ही नहीं. So this is 1 divided by 1.12. अपन क्या करते हैं? That equal to मारते हैं. What is that? When we are doing on our calculators, this is nothing but 1 upon 1.12 raised to 2. That is nothing but on your calculators 1 divided by 1.12 equals to आपने किया, फिर वापस आपको equals to करना है. So you will see something like 0.7972, let us say 0.7972. This is 79.72, again equals to 0.71117, okay, round off करेंगे 8, 0.6355 and 0.5674. अच्छा, and how you solve for this is पहले आप discounting factor हमेशा लिख लेते हो, we'll do enough practice and then you will have to multiply, you'll use memory. यहाँ पे तो चलो orally भी हो जाता है, but 100 into 0.8929 m plus ये आपके memory में जाएगा. 100 into 0.7972 m plus, that is 79.72. 100 into 0.7118 m plus 71.18. 100 into 0.6355 again m plus 63.55, and 1100 into 0.5674 m plus 624.14. And memory recall, this is 927.88. 927.88. What does this mean? Step by step, please pay attention. Step by step, the value of an asset is the present value of future cash flows. And while you try to calculate future cash flows, as an investor, we would say that if not this bond, the next best bond will give you how much? We'll say in the market we are fetching 12%. जैसे आप लोग काफी अच्छे से बोल रहे थे 6%, 7% वगैरह, 5%. So there would be a market rate of interest for similar assets. वो range इसके लिए रहता है. If you look at banks like SBI, HDFC, उनके सभी जगह पे आपको 5% जितना 5 to 5.5% का रेट मिलेगा. If you go to cooperative banks, वो थोड़े ज्यादा रिस्की होते हैं. You get a slightly higher rate of interest, like around 6 or 7%, for example. So depending on the risk of the issuer, the credit worthiness of the issuer, the rate of interest may differ. So government का तो काफी safe होता है. So here, for example, you are saying that the market rate of interest was 12%. So if government is promising to pay you 100 after 1 year, that is worth 89.29 today. If I want to earn a 12% return, it is promising to pay you 100 after 2 years. That is worth 79.72 in today. If you want to earn a 12% return, and so on. If the government is promising to pay you 1100 after 5 years, if you want to earn a 12% return, you should be willing to pay 624.14 only. So what should be the value of the bond according to you? What is the price you should be willing to pay for the bond? Option A, 1500. Option B, 1000, that is the par value. Option C, 927.88. Option C, the value of a bond is the present value of the future cash flows. This is like a bullet repayment. Bullet repayment का मतलब क्या होता है? वो one shot repayment कर रहा है. Is it necessary that there has to be a bullet repayment as well? No. A bond can actually amortize. In the sense, the bond can actually make you payment even in installments. The principle remains the same. The value of the bond is the present value of future cash flows. Okay, so you should be paying, you should be ready to pay 927.88. Now the question asks you your judgment. Let us say the government has kept the issue price of this bond as 920. The government has kept the issue price of this bond at 920 and they ask for your advice. Should an investor subscribe to the bond? Should he apply for the bond? Should he buy the bond? क्या लग रहा है आपको? Yes, because I'm willing to pay maximum 927.88. I'm willing to pay maximum 927.88 because that gives me 12% return. But the government is giving me a choice to buy this at 920. So should I buy it at 920? Why not? Yes, you will buy it. And that is why a lot of investors will apply. Acha, just for our knowledge, let me ask you this question. If you kind of understand basics of financial management, we'll do that in the future as well. According to you, if I were to ask you, let us say the issue price is 920 and the investor applies for the bond and he's allotted the bond, his rate of return, will it be exactly 12? Will it be more than 12 or will it be less than 12? Or can't say more than 12. More than 12. This is based on the concept of IRR and NPV. If you remember IRR and NPV. Over here, the present value of your cash inflows, just for your concept. If bond were to be taken as a project, the present value of your cash inflows is 927.88. Whereas if you as an investor were to invest, the present value of your cash outflows is 920. And hence, and hence the NPV is positive. There is a positive 7.88 NPV, and whenever the NPV was positive, if you remember, the internal rate of return or IRR would be higher. We would say कि भाई ठीक है, cost of capital 12% है, but NPV positive है, which means you are actually earning more. You are actually earning more. अगर समझ में आता है तो ठीक है. Are we understanding this or अपन भूल चुके? Yes, the bond is underpriced. It is undervalued, you should buy it. A lot of people would say कि government ऐसा क्यों करेगा? A lot of times people actually do this because they genuinely want the investors to be attracted to the bond. आप आजकल देखो IPOs में initial public offers, if you are tracking the market, IPOs multiple times सब्सक्राइब हो रहे हैं. अभी नजारा टेक्नोलॉजीज का IPO हो गया, उसके पहले इजी ट्रिप प्लानर्स का IPO हो गया. These were equity, not bonds. But people are subscribing a lot because probably they think that the value that is there is actually lower than what the value should be. For example, if अभी आप अकेले तो शाणे हो ने, एक्सेल शीट पे से बहुत सारे लोग करेंगे, बोलेंगे हाँ यार मार्केट में 12% मिल रहा है, ये बॉन्ड अपने को 12 से ज्यादा दे रहा लग रहा है. Let us subscribe to this, and hence over subscription etc. does happen. So over here, why an issuer does this is depending on the intention of the issuer. We are nowhere to comment on why the government is giving more than 12, but if it wants to give, it can give. Achha, what if the issue price is 930? अभी अपना विशेष टिप्पणी क्या रहेगा? What will be our advice? What will be our advice? Should we still buy the bond? Government says नहीं, हमारा issue price 930 है. We will not buy. Why? Well, if you end up paying 930, that is more than 927, you are not going to make a 12% return. You will make less than 12%. We would say we are maximum willing to pay 927.88, which assures us of a 12% return. If you make us pay 930 or let us say 940, we are not going to earn that return. Usse अच्छा, we will invest in the next best bond. If not your bond, the next best bond, and as a result, we would say that this bond does not meet our return requirements. We will not invest in this bond. Are we clear with this? So, why are we doing valuation of bonds? We are doing it so that we can compare this 940. एक लेमैन क्या बोलेगा? एक लेमैन बोलेगा कि अरे यार 1000 का बॉन्ड है, गवर्नमेंट आपको सिर्फ 940 में दे रहा है. A layman would say that it's a 1000 rupee bond. Government is giving us only at 940 rupees. चलो चलो खरीदते, सस्ते में मिल रहा है, redemption पे हमें 1000 मिलेगा. That is not the right way to think. You will have to find the value of a bond, and as a chartered accountant, you will find the value of a bond, or for that matter, any asset in the world of finance, as the present value of future cash flows. The value of a bond will be the present value of the future cash flows, where the discount rate is, from an investor's perspective, the minimum required rate of return that he wants to earn. From a company's perspective, it should be the rate that it wants to pay. अच्छा, यहाँ पे क्या होगा? ये तो discounting factor अपने बोला, how much is the investor maximum willing to pay? Now, अभी आप तो रहे फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टेंट, एक इन्वेस्टर आपके पास आके बोलता है कि बताओ ना, हम ये बॉन्ड सब्सक्राइब करेंगे. यू डू अ वैल्यूएशन एंड यू से कि well, if the price was 920, you should subscribe. However, if a company comes to you and it says that I want to give my investors an effective return of, let us say, 13%. A company comes to you as a financial consultant and a company says that I want to give my investors a return of 13%. मार्केट में भले कोई भी रेट चल रहा है, हमें उसका लेना देना नहीं है. You tell me what should be the issue price of my instrument. I want to issue a bond which has a 10% coupon, which has a term of 5 years, and what will be the issue price? I want to give them a return of 13%. The company wants to give them a return, or the company wants to pay a cost. Whatever is the reason, we don't know, but the company wants to pay a cost of 13%. Now, while determining the issue price, you guys tell me, market rate of interest is 12%. There are 3 rates now. Market rate of interest is 12%. The company wants to give the investors a return of 13%, or the company wants to pay 13% for whatever reasons. You want to determine the issue price. What will be the discount rate? 10%, 12%, 13%. प्लीज थिंक एन आंसर. 10, 12 और 13. 13. आपको क्वेश्चन देखना है, बराबर से क्वेश्चन देखना है और अकॉर्डिंगली आंसर करना है. सो इफ द क्वेश्चन आस्क्स यू डिटरमाइन द इश्यू प्राइस, यू विल से ओके फ्रॉम अ कंपनी पर्सपेक्टिव, इन्वेस्टर भले जो भी एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं, इफ आई वांट टू डिटरमाइन द इश्यू प्राइस, company would say that what do I have to pay over here. Let us say I'll have to pay 100 of interest. company के लिए तो ये cash outflow होएगा. Let's say we can call this as a cash flow basically. CO is cash outflow. The discount factor over here will be 13%. So over here 1 divided by 1.13 equals to 0.8850, 0.7831, 0.6931, 0.6133, 0.5428. And we'll try to find the present value. I'll not write down each of these numbers. We'll directly do this so that you get a perspective. So this is 88.5, 78.31, 69.31, 61.33 and 1100 into 0.5428. So this is 894.53. Acha, it's the same question and we do a problem like this as well. The question asks you, it gives you all of this data. The company wants to give the investor a return of 13%. The market rate of interest is 12%. Find the issue price. What will be the issue price? Will it be among these options? 894.53 hai, A, B, C or D. Find the issue price. Your answer will be D. The same question with the same data. The question asks you, find the value of the bond for the investor. Find the value of the bond for the investor. Issue price is 894. Question आपको वो नहीं बोल रहा है. Question बोल रहा है कि investor के लिए bond का क्या value है. Find the value of the bond for the investor. A, B, C, D. अच्छा, okay. Maybe you're not getting the question properly. Let us say, what is the maximum price an investor should be willing to pay for the bond? That is the question asks you, what is the maximum price an investor should be willing for the bond? Willing to pay for the bond, that is 927. That is what you call as the value of the bond. जरूरी नहीं कि भैया 927 आपके हिसाब से वैल्यू तो 927 पे करना है. But when I do a comparison, if someone asks me कि यार तुम्हारे हिसाब से बॉन्ड का क्या वैल्यू है, we'll say यार बॉन्ड का वैल्यू तो 927 में मिल रहा है, 894 पे है. According to us, the value of the bond is 927. It's available at 894. So we will buy at 894. But the value of the bond for us is actually 927. We are getting it at a lower value. The bond seems to be undervalued, underpriced. We are getting it at 894. Are we clear with this? समझ में आ रहा अपने को कुछ? Any problems till now? Please do ask me. Any problems? No? Okay, great. Is there a faster way in which you can do the same problem? Is there a faster way in which you can solve the same problem? You can solve it like this, कोई problem नहीं, but exam में अपना time थोड़ा short रहता है. So whenever cash flows are uniform, there is something called as a present value annuity factor. There is something called as a present value annuity factor which rests on your basic concepts of mathematics. Acha, for example, just understand the basics. What is a present value annuity factor? Basically, आप क्या कर रहे हो? 100 into 0.892 plus 100 into 0.7972 plus, let's say, ये आप छोड़ दो, यहाँ पे आप actually कर रहे क्या हो? You are doing this, right? Which means in each of these numbers, mathematically, if I were to write something like this, 100 into, आप हॉरिजॉन्टली लिखोगे तो शायद बेटर समझ में आएगा. 100 इंटू 0.8929 प्लस 100 इंटू 0.7972 प्लस सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. यहां पे कुछ कॉमन दिख रहा है आपको? हाँ सर, 100 कॉमन है. सो वी कैन टेक 100 आउटसाइड द ब्रैकेट एंड देन 100 इंटू 0.8929 प्लस 0.7927 plus 0.7118, so on and so forth. So what does annuity factor do? It says that whenever the cash flows are uniform, ultimately you are going to multiply 100 by the discount factor, 100 by the discount factor, 100 by the discount factor. So what we can do is take 100 common and then take the total of the discount factors. Take 100 common and take the total of the discount factors. So over here, for example, for 5 years, you have plus 0.6355 and even in the 5th year, वैसे 1100 है but 1100 के अंदर भी 100 तो है, plus 0.5674. So basically what we were doing is, I mean, I'm just doing this in absolute basic terms. अगर आपने ये नहीं पढ़ा है तो भी आपको आना चाहिए. 100 into 0.7118 plus 100 into 0.6355 plus 100 into 0.5674 plus 1000. 5th ईयर में अपन यहाँ पे बाइफरकेट कर रहे हैं 100 and 1000 के बीच में, तो 1100 into 0.5674 बराबर है. So if you go to see at all of these places 100 remains common and hence you can take 100 common and total of all of these plus 1000 वो किसी के साथ भी कॉमन नहीं है into 0.5674 बराबर के नहीं. सो ये सब आपको एग्जाम में दिखाने का जरूरत नहीं है. इन द एग्जाम यू कैन डायरेक्टली से द वैल्यू ऑफ द बॉन्ड इज अ प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज, दैट इज 100 into the present value annuity factor at the rate of 12% for 5 years, which is on your calculators. 1 divided by 1.12 equals to, you can take m plus, memory में डालो वापस, equals to m plus 5 times equals to m plus equals to m plus. So memory में ये पूरा चीज चले जाएगा and then memory recall MRC. This is 3.6048 plus, we take 4 decimals usually and we use the 5th number to round off the 4th decimal, plus 1000 into the present value factor at the rate of 12% for the 5th year. PVF is the present value factor, PVAF is the present value annuity factor. So this is 0.5674, and if you do this in a much more faster way, you can actually get 100 into 3.6048 m plus 1000 into 0.5674 m plus MRC, and you get the same 927.88. You are now not doing, remember, आप अभी TY BCom में नहीं हो कि जितना पेज बड़ा आपने भरा उतना आपको ज्यादा आंसर मिलता है, वैसा नहीं. यू नॉट इन BCom एग्जाम्स जहाँ पे अपने को वैसा रहता है हाँ अपने को पेज भरना है, पॉइंट्स भरना है, वैसा नहीं होता. यहाँ पे अपने को नंबर सही लेके आने के, एज लॉन्ग एज यू, I mean, if you're comfortable, do it by the longer method. If you're not comfortable, do it by the longer method. If you're comfortable, do it by the shorter method. But you should be aware that PVF आप कभी लगा पाओ. Can you apply PVF in every question? No. You can apply it only when the cash flows are uniform. Only when the cash flows remain same, because mathematically only then can you take this 100 common and apply the annuity factor. For example, a bond might say that in the first 2 years it is going to pay 10%, then it is going to pay 13%, then 15%, then PVF is not going to be possible because each year coupon is different. It is possible if and only if your cash flows in each year or at least majority of the years are uniform. Are we clear with this? Any problem in the PVAF working? Have you done this? Are we understanding this? Okay, so we'll write down some basic theory about time value concepts, then some absolute basic theory about bonds, and then we'll do a few simple problems to kind of, these are concept builders to help you develop a better understanding on bond valuation, and then we can keep on going to the advanced concepts. Okay, so give the heading Valuation of Securities, a definite tier 1 category chapter. Give the heading Valuation of Securities, put that into the tier 1 category, tier 1 being the most important. Weightage anywhere between 10 to 20 marks. Assured weightage. There will not be a paper जहाँ पे वैल्यूएशन का एक भी सम ना मिले, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. इनफैक्ट मोस्ट ऑफ द पेपर्स दैट आई हैव सीन, इक्विटी के वैल्यूएशन का अलग क्वेश्चन आता है, बॉन्ड वैल्यूएशन अलग क्वेश्चन. सो देयर विल बी अ क्वेश्चन ऑन बॉन्ड्स इन योर पेपर, देयर विल बी अ क्वेश्चन ऑन इक्विटी एटलीस्ट, इफ नॉट मोर. सो assured weightage around 10 to 20 marks. Okay, tier 1 category chapter. Write down. We're going to write down some basic time value concepts. Write down time value concepts. Time value concepts. Write down in general, comma, in general, comma, we use annual compounding. We use annual compounding for a given rate of return. In general, comma, we use annual compounding for a given rate of return. For a given rate of return, that is FV equals PV into 1 plus R raised to N. Next line. Compounding takes us from the present value to the future value. Compounding takes us from the present value to the future value. Whereas discounting takes us from the future value to the present value. Whereas discounting takes us from the future value to the present value. Next line, that is FV upon 1 plus R raised to N equals PV. That is FV into 1 plus 1 upon 1 plus R raised to N equals PV, and यहाँ पे इसको अपन डिस्काउंट फैक्टर बोलेंगे. डिस्काउंट फैक्टर. Discount factor. Okay, next line you'll write down valuation of bonds. Valuation of bonds. When I say bonds, debentures, bonds / debentures, basically fixed income securities. into bracket, we are referring to fixed income securities. Even preference shares can come into this, because at the end of the day preference shares resemble, acha, what do you guys think? Preference shares resemble more like a bond or like a equity share? The features of a preference share are more like a bond or a equity share. It's like a bond. बोलने के लिए dividend. However, you are actually getting a stable, a fixed rate of return, and hence the features of a preference share are very similar to those of a bond. And as a result, the valuation of a preference share is also similar to valuation of a bond, unlike equity share. जैसे equity share अपने अब तक पढ़ा नहीं है, but for example, one of the ways in which you value an equity share is Gordon's formula. And in Gordon's formula, remember you have this growth P0 equals D1 upon KE minus G. You might have done the growth, और अपन ने अलग तरीके से पढ़ा रहेगा D1 by P0 plus G. So basically growth होता है गॉर्डन के फॉर्मूला में. वो ग्रोथ आपको बॉन्ड में नहीं आया, ग्रोथ आपको प्रेफरेंस शेयर में नहीं आएगा. Why? Because how does it matter? Let the company grow, let the company not grow, you are going to get a fixed return. So growth factors like growth don't enter into the valuation of bonds, because your return is fixed irrespective of how the company grows or does not grow. You are going to get the fixed rate of return. Barabar? Yes. Okay. So over here, this is valuation of your bonds. Write down, these are basically fixed income securities. Have you written the heading? Yes. Okay. Write down next line. The value of a fixed income security. The value of a fixed income security will be the present value of coupons into bracket interest bracket closed, of coupons into bracket interest bracket closed, and redemption values and redemption values. Will be the present value of the coupons into bracket interest bracket closed and redemption value. Next line, that is B0. B0 यानी क्या होता है? The value of a bond at year 0. Today B0 equals I1 plus I2. ये सिर्फ अपन अपने नॉलेज के लिए लिख कर रखे डॉट 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 टिल. अच्छा, 10 साल का बॉन्ड है तो 10 years, 5 years का बॉन्ड है तो 5 years, 50 years का बॉन्ड है तो 50 years. I raised to n plus RV यानी रिडेम्पशन वैल्यू. ये भी जो भी साल में रिडेम्पशन होने वाला है, लेट अस से द nth year. अच्छा, दिस वुड बी इन अवर एग्जाम्पल जो अपने 1500 का वर्किंग किया था, 100 plus 100 plus 100 एंड देन लास्ट में 1100, तो दैट इज 1500. द वैल्यू ओवर हियर विल बी द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, एंड लेट अस से दिस विल बी, let us say KD. KD is the cost of debt, for example. Basically, K is the cost or the return, as you call it, the required rate of return. We'll just write that raised to n and raised to n. आपको समझ में आ रहा है ये? It's just a slightly complicated way. It is given in the study material like this as well. But what we have actually done over here, I hope you understand, is nothing but this is I1. And this is 1 upon 1 plus KD. I2, I3 and ये I5 तक चलता है अपने केस में. N is the number of years which can vary in case of bonds. ठीक है? तो ये फॉर्मूला समझ में आ रहा है क्या आपको? Yes, okay. You will just write this down. That is, you will just write this down where we will give what each of these terms mean. But first write this down. Write each of these down. Okay, so are we done? आपने लिख लिया क्या? Let me know once you're done. Okay, write down where B0 equals value of the bond today B0 equals value of the bond today, that is year 0. I equals coupon interest अच्छा कूपन इंटरेस्ट अब यूजुअली कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हो? दिस इज कूपन रेट इनटू फेस वैल्यू आउटस्टैंडिंग, जितना भी आपका आउटस्टैंडिंग फेस वैल्यू है इनटू द कूपन रेट. N equals number of years RV equals redemption value. ये प्रिंसिपल जब भी रिडीम होता है वो this is of the principal, and KD equals required rate of return from fixed income securities or debt securities. Fixed income or debt securities. Acha, you guys tell me, is it appropriate to take the WACC, the weighted average cost of capital, as a discounting factor while valuing bonds? Yes or no? Is it appropriate to take the WACC, weighted average cost of capital? No. Why? Because weighted average cost of capital will also comprise of the cost of equity. But then when we look at opportunity cost should be the opportunity cost of the next best similar investment, right? You can't say, हाँ ठीक है bond नहीं तो equity का return. If not this bond, then another bond. You can't say कि भैया equity will give you 20% return, so this bond should also give you 20% return. That is unfair. You're not comparing apples with apples. And as a result, you have to take the required rate of return of only fixed income securities. And hence that will be like debt securities. WACC, cost of equity, these are not appropriate discount factors while valuing bond. You cannot say कि हाँ Sensex देखो double हो गया. For example, last year March, as we are speaking, if you see around March last year, Sensex had touched around 26 or 27,000. See, right now it is close to 45 to 50,000. डबल हो गया. तो अपन बोलते हैं भैया अगर शेयर मार्केट डबल हो गया, दिस वाज वन वेरी यूनिक ईयर, बट वी कैन नॉट से कि हाँ द इक्विटी इज गिविंग सच अ स्टेलर रिटर्न, तो फिक्स्ड इनकम बॉन्ड्स में भी आपको डबल होना चाहिए पैसा. अरे बॉन्ड थोड़ी ना डबल होएगा, इक्विटी डबल होता है, तो दोनों अलग ही इन्वेस्टमेंट है. यू कांट कंपेयर द इक्विटी रिटर्न विद अ बॉन्ड रिटर्न. आर वी क्लियर विद दिस? Yes. Okay. So we'll go to the questions. Currently, we will stick to the page numbers as they are, but your page numbers can actually change. It is of your textbook because this is one of the topics. So your page numbers might actually undergo a change. For the timing, you can stick to the page numbers that are there in your temporary sheet. Okay. So let's start with the first problem. Go to question number 2. On your temporary page 5, question number 2. Are we there? Yes, okay. Let's read this question. A is willing to purchase a 5-year 1,000 rupee par value bond. Acha, par is another name for face value. A is willing to purchase a 5-year 1,000 rupee par value bond having a coupon rate of 9%. Okay. A's required rate of return is 10%. Okay. How much should A pay to purchase the bond if it matures at par? Matures at par means it redeems at par. अपन यूजुअली क्या करते हैं, जब भी ऐसे क्वेश्चन पढ़ते हैं ना, वी राइट डाउन द गिवन डेटा. इंस्टीट्यूट नेवर राइट्स इट डाउन. इट इज जस्ट दैट अपने माइंड में एकदम क्लैरिटी आ जाता है कि कौन सा चीज क्या है. So it will take probably a few seconds of your time, but it gives you absolute clarity on what is there in the question. So for example, question number 2, you can just keep the page number blank for the time being. Once you have the final textbook and you're revising, you can write the page number. So for your reference, you can have the given data, though it is not necessary to be written in the exam. आप लिखो तो कुछ गलत नहीं है, but लिखना कंपल्सरी नहीं है. Your given data is purchase willing to purchase a 5-year bond, so the term is 5 years. 1,000 is the face value. Coupon rate is 9%. Discount. अच्छा, what is the discount factor over here? Can you tell me discount factor क्या लेना चाहिए यहाँ पे? 10%. No, it is not 9. 9 is the coupon rate. Discounting is based on what you require, not based on what the company's coupon is. 10% होना चाहिए. That is correct. So over here, this is, let's say we just jot this down. Face value. Rupees 1,000, coupon 9%, discounting factor, DF भी आप लिख सकते हो, ये तो सिर्फ रफ वर्किंग है 10% and term 5 years. Okay, now you can look at valuation. We will first do by the longer method. पहला क्वेश्चन है ना, उसके बाद एक alternative working करके अपन present value annuity factor भी ले सकते हैं. आगे जाके once you're comfortable, we can take PVF. But first, since this is the first question, and not all of you might be comfortable with PVF, so we will do the longer method. The valuation of bond will be based on the present value of future cash flows. So years, how many years are there? Well, 5 years. And you will have cash inflows, CI. Cash inflow comprises of interest and principal. There is no principal payment in the first 4 years. You are directly paying back everything in the 5th year. Okay. What I want you to do is, जैसे अपन ने पहले किया था, अपने हिसाब से fair में solve करो. Take 4 decimals for the discount factor and look at the 5th number. If the 5th number is 5 or greater than 5, round it off. Write the cash inflows. Write the discount factors. Multiply, put M plus in fair, confidence रखो, अपने जैसे discuss किया, in fair, and find the final answer. Tell me what the final answer is, and then we can proceed. अपने पूरा example discuss किया, वही lines पे आपको ये solve करके मेरे को देना है fair में. Do not refer the screen, please. Try to do it on your own. It's fine if you make a mistake. We are seeing around rupee value, we will round off to rupees 2, that's fine. 962.06 roughly, yeah, 07. थोड़ा छुट्टा माफ होता है, so there might be some approximation, that is fine. 962.06. If you do directly through the memory, if you 0.05, 0.07 is absolutely fine. 962.063, or we will restrict it to 2 decimals, rupees and paisa. Discounting factor 4 decimals, rupees paisa 2 decimals. Acha, are we clear? Is everyone getting this number? Yes? Okay. So how much should A be willing for the bond, willing to pay for the bond? What is the question asking you? How much should A pay to purchase the bond if it matures at par? So how much should A pay? Should he pay 1000 rupees? Should he pay 962 rupees? 962, right? So write down A should, conclude कर देंगे point 3, A should pay rupees 962.06 for the bond. For the bond. Acha, in this question, can you alternatively also apply the PVAF? Is it possible to apply PVAF in this question? Yes. So for your reference, exam में दोनों करने का जरूरत नहीं. Alternatively, you can write down this will be 90 into PVAF at the rate of 10%. Let us say for 5 years plus 1000 इसमें आता नहीं है into the present value factor at the rate of 10% only for the 5th year. Can you calculate and tell me the PVAF number? Can you calculate and tell me यहाँ पे क्या आना चाहिए जो मैंने highlight किया? $3.7908. That is exactly right. 1 upon 1.1 equals to m plus. Do it for 5 times, and you should be getting 3.7908. Please do the practice for this if you have not done this earlier. 3.7908, and यहाँ पे आपका जो same ऊपर factor है 0.6209 आएगा. If you do this, that is 90 into 3.7908 m plus. That's 341.17. ये memory में जाएगा m plus, and 1000 into 0.6209 m plus 620.9 again goes in the memory. Use your memory function more often. Equals memory recall 962.07, almost the same number. 962.07. Barabar? Okay, now before we proceed, I would want to add some more conceptual depth to this. So from an exam perspective, this is more than sufficient. Tell me, is this bond available at a discount to the face value or at a premium to the face value? Or at the same value at par? Is this bond, let us say the issue price is also the same. Is it available at a discount to the face value or a premium to the face value discount? Okay, fair enough. यहाँ पे अपने को इंस्टीट्यूट ऐसा सब पूछेगा नहीं, but just for our knowledge, is there a relationship? Is there a reason why it is at a discount or it is a mere coincidence? Can you figure out even before starting the question that your answer will be less than the face value, greater than the face value? Is there a relationship that you can see over here, or it is a mere coincidence? Okay, there is a reason. Coupon is less than the discount factor is the reason Anshul is saying. If the coupon is less than the discounting factor, how does it matter? Conceptually, we will discuss, and then mathematically. This is a very good, जैसे अपन बोलते हैं ना, इन अकाउंट्स यू हैव समथिंग लाइक बैलेंस शीट बीइंग टैलीड. बैलेंस शीट टैली हुआ तो अपन बोलते हैं हाँ हमारा सोल्यूशन शायद राइट होगा. जरूर नहीं होना चाहिए, बट देयर इज अ क्रॉस चेक ओवर देयर. However, in your FM, you don't have such balance sheet tallying and stuff. So you'll have to devise some checks, mental checkpoints in your mind to see if your solution is going in the right direction or not. They might not necessarily be conclusive. Like a balance sheet tallying does not really mean that your answer is correct. It just means that you have taken double entries. Maybe if you have taken wrong double entries, still your balance sheet will tally. In a similar way, here we will try to put a mental checkpoint to just see कि यार ये जो हमने किया है वो सही है या गलत है. At least some checkpoints in our mind. So there is a relationship between the coupon rate and the required rate. So over here the coupon rate is 9%, the required rate was 10%. Now, common sense, conceptually, if you were to say that if you were a bond investor and you were given a bond, think of this carefully. If you were given a bond as a layman who is offering you lesser interest as compared to what you get in the market, is that a premium category bond or is that a discount category bond? Is that a premium category? Is that a superior bond or an inferior bond? Is that a superior bond or an inferior bond? You are offered a bond whose market rate of interest, whose coupon rate is 9%, where you are aware that the market rate of interest is 10%. Is this a bond which is superior or is it a bond which is inferior? It says, what do you guys think? Superior category bond or inferior category bond? Yes, it seems to be an inferior category bond because I would say, यार ये क्या लेके आए हो आप मेरे पास? सब जगह 10% मिल रहा है, आपको शर्म नहीं आ रहा है मेरे को 9% बोलने के लिए? So this is not a bond which is of a superior category. It is not giving you a return which is more than that of the market. It is giving you actually a return which is less than that of the market. So it's an inferior bond, and an inferior bond, common sense, a layman would tell you, will be available at a price which is lower than the face value or higher than the face value. Will it be available at a price? Yes. And hence, in general, you have to remember that in cases where if you were to look at the relationship, let us say between the coupon rate and the discount rate, whenever the coupon rate, this is just for our knowledge. पहले आप ध्यान दो, अभी लिखने के ऊपर मत फोकस करो, पहले आप ध्यान दो. Whenever the coupon rate is less than the discount rate is your required rate of return. This is like a inferior category bond. Because a holder would say that I'm getting lesser than what is available in the market, then I'm going to pay you less as well. So over here, the market price or the issue price, as the case may be, has to be. In such a case, the market price as compared to the face value. Generally, these are rules of thumb bolte hain jaise apan, should be what? Should the market price be lower or should the market price be higher? Should the market price be lower or higher? If the coupon rate is lower than the discount rate, बराबर से सोचो, if the coupon rate is lower than the discount rate, we are getting a coupon which is lower than what we would have fetched in the market. So the market price should ideally be lower than the face value or higher than the face value. The market price over here will be lower than the face value, like it has happened. I will explain this. Like it has happened over here. अच्छा, अगर आप इसका एक शायद ये कॉन्सेप्ट ऊपर नीचे जाए, मैथमेटिक्स will not go wrong. Mathematically, coupon rate gives you a return in the future. Discount rate takes it to the present value. So when I look at coupon rate, that is the rate of return that I'm going to earn on the bond. So it is like saying if 100, you kind of compound, you earn a rate. So return on this, let us say on 100, if you earn a 9% return, which means at the end of the year, you will have 109 rupees. However, if you discount it, coupon rate is the rate of return, discount rate takes it to the present value. if you discount it by 10%, if you discount 109 by 10%, this is 109 into 1.10, you will get 99. This has to be lower than 100. So if your face value was 100, on which you had a 9% coupon, which took you to 109 at the end of the first year, for example, if you were to find the present value and the discounting factor, that is the required rate of return, is higher, present value will always be lower. Basically, you are multiplying, mathematically you are multiplying by 9% and dividing by 10%, your answer has to be lower. थोड़ा मुश्किल है समझने के लिए, but you can try to make some practice over here. Okay. What about the situation where the coupon rate is greater than the discount rate? Market में everyone is expecting a rate of return of 10%. Your bond is giving a rate of return of 15%. Your bond has a 15% return. Do you think people would love to buy your bond? पहले वाला बॉन्ड ऐसा था कि यार मार्केट में रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट 10% है, योर बॉन्ड वाज 9%. पीपल वुड नॉट बाय योर बॉन्ड, एंड इफ यू वांट पीपल टू बाय योर बॉन्ड, यू विल हैव टू गिव अ डिस्काउंट because it's an inferior grade bond. You are giving only 9% when the market rate of interest is 10%, like it is there in question 2. On the other hand, if you look at the second category of the bond where your market rate of interest is 10% and your bond is giving 15%, people would love to subscribe to your bond and there will be a lot of demand for your bond. So over here, if I were to look at the relationship between the market price and the face value, is this a premium category bond or a discount category bond? Should this bond trade at a premium? Should it trade at a price which is higher than the face value, or should it trade at a price which is lower than the face value? It's a premium category bond, and hence, what do you think? The market price should be higher or lower than the face value? That is right, it has to be higher. Mathematically, if there's a bond which is 100, which is giving, let's say simplicity के लिए 1 year bond लेने का, तो आपके माइंड में क्लियर हो जाता है. Simplicity के लिए, if it's a 1 year bond with a coupon rate of 15%, then at the end of first year you will get 115. However, if your required rate of return is only 10%, then this will give you 115 into 1 upon 1.10, which is 115 upon 1.1. ये आपको आएगा 104.55. Can you see this is greater than 100? Mathematically, mathematics will never go wrong. You are multiplying, that is, you are increasing, you are going from the present value to the future value at 15%. But then when you are coming back, you are discounting it only by 10%, and hence the value has to be higher. So this will be a premium category bond. Sir, इससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? देखो, इससे एग्जाम में आपको कोई लेना देना है नहीं. It is just that when you wrote this given data, you saw the coupon at 9, you saw the discount factor at 10. In your mind, you should have said कि हाँ यार मेरे को आंसर सर 1000 के नीचे आना चाहिए. अगर आपको यहाँ पे आंसर बाय मिस्टेक 1000 के ऊपर आ जाता है, that should raise a red flag in your mind कि यार मैंने शायद कैलकुलेशन मिस्टेक किया, or there is something else in the question that I seem to have missed out. How can the answer be more than 1000? Now, someone can always say, नहीं सर वो तो अपन ने मिस्टेक करेगा तो 962 के बदले 672 आता है, तो भी I can understand. You can't really find everything. So, but at least you should have something in your mind. आप हर एक चीज में ऐसा क्रॉस चेक मेंटल मैथ्स करते नहीं बैठ सकते हो, but there have to be some what you call as speed breakers in your mind to kind of help you at least see whether you are going in the right direction or not. अगर आपका आंसर यहाँ पे 1000 के ऊपर आ जाता है, that should raise a red flag. That should make you recheck your calculations and see if you have missed out something or done something wrong. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? सो ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूट आपको ये सब कुछ करने को बोलता नहीं है, बट दिस विल नॉट टेक मोर देन अ फ्यू सेकंड्स इफ यू आर क्लियर. अगर आपको क्लैरिटी नहीं मिलता तो आप छोड़ दो. पहले 2 पॉइंट्स आपको समझ में आते हैं तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं समझ में आते तो ठीक है, बट थर्ड पॉइंट यू विल हैव टू रिमेंबर. द थर्ड थिंग इज समथिंग विच यू हैव टू रिमेंबर बिकॉज इंस्टीट्यूट यूजेस दैट समटाइम्स एज अ हिडन एडजस्टमेंट. व्हाट इफ द कूपन रेट equals the discount rate? This you will have to remember. पहले 2 पॉइंट्स आपको याद रहते हैं तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज वो सिर्फ क्रॉस चेक के लिए यूज हो रहा है. बट थर्ड पॉइंट क्रॉस चेक तो हो ही सकता है, बट उसके अलावा इंस्टीट्यूट कितनी बार यहाँ पे हिडन एडजस्टमेंट भी देता है. what should that signify about your market price or issue price as compared to the face value? Is this a discount category bond? Well, the answer is no. मार्केट में 10% है, आपको भी बॉन्ड 10% दे रहा है. इज इट अ प्रीमियम सुपीरियर कैटेगरी बॉन्ड? वी वुड से नो. मार्केट में 10% है, दिस इज ऑल्सो गिविंग अस 10%. व्हाट डू यू गाइस थिंक? व्हाट शुड बी द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द मार्केट प्राइस एंड द फेस वैल्यू? 3 ऑप्शंस. शुड इट बी हायर, should be lower, or should it be equal ideally if nothing else is available? That is right, it should be equal. Very nice. Why? Well, it's neither a premium category bond nor a discount category bond, which means जैसे आप बैंक में फिक्स डिपॉजिट जब भी रखते हो, you keep a 1,000 rupee fixed deposit, the bank gives you the market rate of interest, that is 5%. After 5 years you get that 1,000 back. So 1,000 का डिपॉजिट यू पे 1,000 ओनली ना. आप थोड़ी ना 1,000 के डिपॉजिट का 900 पे करोगे, 1,000 के डिपॉजिट का 1,100 पे करोगे. When you raise a fixed deposit with the bank is giving you market rate of interest. So for 1,000 fixed deposit, you pay 1,000 only. The fixed deposit face value is 1,000, you pay 1,000. It's a fixed income deposit. Okay, it has to equal. अच्छा सर, तो इसमें okay, we'll also try to prove this mathematically. For example, you have a bond which is 100. एक second. Just pull this up. Let us say you have a bond which is a 1-year bond with a face value of 100 and a coupon rate of 10%, which means after 1 year this bond will redeem at 110. The required rate of return is also 10%. It is the same. So what is happening over here is 110 into 1 upon 1.10, which will give you exactly the same value back 100. Mathematically, you are multiplying by 10, you are also dividing by 10. You are multiplying by 10, you are also dividing by 10, and hence it has to come back to the same number. Some deep concepts, but you should be able to kind of make sense of this. Once you read this, apply some thought, hopefully आपको थोड़ा better clarity आएगा. सर, इसमें hidden adjustment कैसे possible है? Well, the hidden adjustment can be in such cases where, let us say the question can tell you, for example, I mean, ये complex questions आएगा. ऐसे यहाँ पे you going forward you will have to calculate probably durations and volatility and a lot of other things in bonds. The question will not give you the discount factor. The question will tell you, listen to the language. The question will tell you a bond of rupees 1,000, which trades at par, which means उसका market price भी 1,000 है, has a coupon rate of 9% and has a term of 5 years. That's it. It will not tell you what the market rate of interest is. It will not tell you what the discount factor is. It will not tell you what the yield is. Yield अपन आगे जाके पढ़ेंगे. Now you will wonder कि यार यहाँ पे discount rate find कैसे करें? अरे, if the market price is the same as the face value, it indicates that the coupon rate is same as the discount rate. Are we getting this? तो ये hidden adjustment आ सकता है. The question can tell you a bond of rupees 1,000 which trades at par, has coupon of blah blah blah, terms of blah blah blah, find duration, find volatility, find this. अपन बोलेंगे ये सब ठीक है, but discounting factor किधर देके रखा हुआ है? अरे, if the bond is trading at par, that means that unless given otherwise, the coupon rate that is given itself is the discount rate. They are the same. And hence I told you कि पहले दो चीज आपको समझ में आते हैं तो बहुत ही अच्छा. Very nice. That will help you in cross-checking. But third thing, even if you don't understand, you will have to remember this, because the institute can actually formulate, and we will do a couple of questions also, hidden adjustments based on this. It will not give you the discount rate in the question. However, it will tell you somewhere that the bond trades at par, which kind of tells you that if it trades at par, if this is given, then you can imply this information and you can say, okay, coupon rate then is the same as discount rate. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है क्या अपने को? Are we clear with this? Okay. Please tell me if you need me to explain this again, all of these three, or have you understood, or you have any doubts? Do you need me to explain this again once, or are we clear with this? यहाँ पे क्या होता है, मैं आपकी शक्ल देख नहीं सकता हूँ, अदरवाइज आपकी शक्ल देख के मेरे को समझ में आ जाता है यूजुअली कि आपका क्या हालत है. यू वांट मी टू एक्सप्लेन दिस अगेन? Okay, it's clear. Okay, great. Just a quick summary. The moral of the story, if you were kind of puzzled with what was happening, the moral of the story is whenever the coupon rate is lower than the required rate, normal common sense tells you when the coupon rate is lower than what you require, this is an inferior bond, and inferior bonds will always sell at a discount. The issuer will have to give a discount. If the coupon rate is higher than your required rate, this is a superior bond, and superior bonds will be premium bonds. They will always trade at a premium. But if the coupon rate is same as the required rate, that is a discount rate, then there's no reason for the issuer giving you a discount or even the issuer commanding a premium. Then the market price will be the same as the face value unless otherwise given. Mathematically this has to apply because the coupon rate is the rate, that is the rate of return. So 100 ka 1 saal ka bond hai, so it will give you 109 if the coupon is 9%, but the discounting factor, if it is higher, then coupon आप usually multiply करते हो. जैसे 100 plus 9% will give you 109, but then when you are discounting, you are dividing, so your number will fall. ठीक है. So here we will just write down a reference note. ये extra part है, यहाँ पे solution का कोई part नहीं है. Reference note, write down a reference note. The relationship between the coupon rate, reference note करके अपन लिखेंगे. Reference note means it is not a part of your solution, it is only for your reference. Ref note. The relationship between the coupon rate and the discount rate. The relationship between the coupon rate and the discount rate. Into bracket yield. कितनी बार discount rate को अपन yield बोलते हैं. Yield का मतलब क्या होता है? Return. Means how much yield or return the investors are expecting from bonds is the discount factor. So yield, YIELD, yield बोलते हैं अपन discount rate को कितनी बार. The relationship between the coupon rate and the discount rate into bracket yield, bracket closed, is given as follows. Is given as follows. So you will write this down. So let us say this is a premium, this is a discount bond. Okay, reference note, I'll just repeat the reference note heading. The relationship between the coupon rate and the discount rate into bracket yield, bracket closed, is given as follows. So just make these three, write this down and let me know once you're done. Okay, done. Write down below this. Acha, wait. Let me know once you're done. Done. Okay, write down below this. Therefore, if a question says, below this write down, therefore, if a question says that a bond of rupees 1000, therefore, if a question says that a bond of rupees 1000 is quoted at par, underline, is quoted at par, comma, such a bond will implicitly have the coupon rate to equal the discount rate, implicitly have the coupon rate to equal the discount rate, and as the face value equals market price, as the face value equals market price. Are you getting this? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll stop for a break. On the Saturday lectures, we'll have a 10-minute break, generally around 9 o'clock. And on the Sunday lectures, we'll have around a 20-minute break. That should be around 10 o'clock. Okay, so we'll stop for a 10 minutes break right now. And then we will continue with valuation of bonds. Any questions, please do ask me right now, or even if you want to raise hand and ask me right now. Otherwise, we can stop for 10 minutes, I'm sorry, and then we'll continue. नहीं, break के पहले कौन question पूछेगा, कौन break हमारा जाना देगा, बराबर? Yes, okay. No, understood? Great. So I'll just stop this session right now, and then we will resume a new session. You will get a separate alert as well. Okay, chalo, I'll start in 10 minutes by around 9:10. Okay, chalo. So let us start with the next question. This is question number 3. Question number 3. let's go through this question. Whatever are the important questions, we'll write at the top of the chapter or somewhere, wherever you want. अपन एक जगह पे लिख के रखेंगे. Question 2, 3 you can just glance through, not very important questions as such. A PSU, these are like concept builders. They help you kind of build the concept, but ऐसे straightforward questions exam में अपने नसीब नहीं रहेंगे, इतने straightforward questions आए. A PSU, basically PSU is a public sector undertaking, someone like Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, etc. So it's basically a company is proposing to sell a 8-year bond of rupees 1000, okay, at a 10% coupon rate per annum. The bond amount will be amortized equally over its life. So this is the important sentence. This time around, what does this sentence mean? The bond amount will be amortized equally over its life. What does this sentence mean? Does it mean that the bond will be repaid in one shot at 1000 at the end of 8 years, or will it be repaid over the 8 years? What do you guys think? That is right. It will be repaid over 8 years. Perfect. It will be repaid over 8 years. Achha, which means how much will be repaid each year? Any idea? 1000 का bond है, अपन बोल रहे कि it will be amortized equally over 8 years. That is 1000 divided by 8 equally है. It's not necessary that it has to be equal, but it is clearly given that it is amortized equally. So 1000 divided by 8 will come to 125. That is right. If an investor has a minimum required rate of 8%, what is the bond's present value? Okay, just glance through the question once. अच्छा, first thing साथ में solve करेंगे. We'll write down the given data. Write down point 1 given data. We will write down the given data. अच्छा, what is the face value of the bond? Seems to be rupees 1000. Coupon rate. How much is the coupon rate given? Seems to be 10% and the required rate is 8%. So coupon rate is 10%. Discount rate is 8% and term is 8 years. Term is 8 years. Now, before we even start solving the question, let me see if you have understood the concept. या ऐसे ही आपने मुंडी हिला लिया था. According to you, your final answer should be greater than 1000, less than 1000, equal to 1000. Based on the data in front of you, your final answer should be greater than 1000, less than 1000, equal to 1000. Please answer everyone. Should be greater. Very nice. Why should it be greater? It's a premium category bond. In the market, people are happy with 8% return. This bond is giving you 10%, and as a result, it is going to charge a premium for it. And hence, it's a premium category bond, will always be at a value which is higher than par. So your final answer has to be greater than 1000. If it is less than 1000, you will have to kind of see if there is something wrong over here. Okay? So this is your given data. Now when we are doing valuation, this is a bond over 8 years. The coupon rate is 10%. Tell me please. We have to find the bond as a present value as a present value of future cash flows. We have to find the value as a present value of future cash flows. My first question is, can we use PVAF in this question? Yes or no? Can we use PVAF in this question? Yes or no? I can see a mixed verdict, and that is why I'm reluctant to start with PVF to start with, because students don't understand it as well. As you practice more and more, you get a better clarity. You can see, I can see an almost split verdict. Half of you are saying yes, half of you are saying no. Let us try. For safety, PVF कभी चलेगा, कभी नहीं चलेगा. वो table तो हर एक जगह पे चलेगा. So for safety, in the initial questions, we will prepare the table. So let us say we will go ahead and prepare the table. Let us say first year's cash flows. You guys tell me, if I were to, do not write anything right now. So over here, let's say you are trying to do the valuation. Do not write anything. Tell me in year 1, let us say, if I were to find the cash inflows, what will be my total cash inflow in year 1? Total cash inflow that I should discount. what should be my total cash inflow? Achha, will my cash inflow comprise only of interest or interest and principal both? Both. Perfect. Your answers are correct. It is not just the coupon, it is coupon and principal both. So over here, let us say, just to be more clear, you will have, let us say, interest, let's say principal, and that will give you total cash inflow. Last question, we did not really need to do this because, well, you only had interest. Just said in the last stage you had principal, तो अपन वो separately दिखा दिया. Interest for the first year, just for your understanding, would be 1,000 rupee bond, always a percentage of the face value, into 10%. That will come to 100. The principal would be 1,000 divided by 8, equally each year, which is 125. And as you guys have rightly pointed out, your total cash inflow will be 225. So for example, what you can do is you can call these as separate columns. ये आपको लिखना नहीं, I'm just building it up right now. Let us say this is column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, then column number 4 is basically 2 plus 3. Acha. Second year, we'll have the same cash inflows. Now, we will have 225 for all the remaining 8 years. Is that correct? Is that wrong? 220. Why no? Yes? No? Achha, then you guys tell me that what should be the interest amount for the second year? 100 hi to hona chahiye na. Interest is always a percentage of face value. Should it be 100? No? Why not? Yes? Less repayment. Perfect. There has been a principal repayment of 125 जो अपन भूल चुके. Remember, interest is levied on the outstanding face value. Out of the 1,000 rupees of your bond, 125 has already been repaid, which means what is actually outstanding is the remaining 875, and hence if you were to calculate interest of the second year, it will be based on the outstanding principal, the principal amount that is still outstanding. 1,000 ka bond, 1,000 में से 125 was paid, only 125 is paid. Only 125 is paid, which means the remaining 875 is still outstanding. So over here 87.5 आएगा. The principal will still be amortized equally. For example, this will still be 100 divided by 8, which comes to 125, and as a result this is 125 plus 87.5, this is 212.5. Okay, there's a query, sir, which part of the question states that there is a principal repayment? If you compare question number 3 with question number 4, I'll highlight 2 parts. Question number 2 में जो green में highlight किया है, it ends with the fact that it matures at par, which means at the end it will be repaid the full value. Whereas in question 3, the part that we have highlighted, the bond amount will be amortized equally over its life. This part of the question indicates that the bond amount, which is 1,000, for example, the face value of the bond will not just mature at par. At expiry, it will be amortized equally over its life. Which means we will spread over. जैसे EMI होता है, we will spread this principal over the tenure of the bond. Are we clear with this? Yes? Okay. Now you guys tell me, अभी तक आपने कुछ लिखना स्टार्ट नहीं किया. You guys tell me, अगर आपको समझ में आए तो थर्ड ईयर का टोटल कैश इनफ्लो क्या आना चाहिए. If you get this correct, you are well placed now. Okay. Others as well, please answer. खुद से कैलकुलेट करो. Yes, that is correct. 200. How do we get 200? Well, you don't really need to show the working. As such, आपको दिखाना तो आप दिखा सकते हो. Your principal falls by another 125. Your principal falls by another 125, and hence the outstanding principal becomes 750. Into 10%, coupon will be 75 rupees. Your principal repayment is equally over 8 years. So 100 divided by 8 will come to 125, and hence this comes to 200. Aja. Now, I'll repeat the first question that I'd asked you. कैन वी यूज पीवीएफ इन दिस क्वेश्चन? कौन 8 साल तक बनाएगा? चलो ना यार पीवीएफ बना देते. That is right. You cannot use it because the cash flows to be discounted are not the same each year, and hence PVF will not work. You will have to make this working. अच्छा, do I need to find the outstanding principal each year? Well, not necessarily. आप करना चाहो तो आप कर सकते हो. Otherwise, what is the faster way for doing it? We would say that each year, how much of the principal is repaid? Tell me, how much of the principal is repaid each year? The amount 125, and hence the interest saved would be to the extent of principal repaid. तो अगर आपने ये इसके पहले के साल में 125 का प्रिंसिपल रीपे कर दिया तो 125 का ये साल पे इंटरेस्ट नहीं लगेगा. रिमेनिंग प्रिंसिपल यू विल स्टिल हैव इंटरेस्ट. सो 125 into 10%, that is 12.5 will be your saving in interest. So basically your interest in each of the years will basically fall by 12.5. Are we getting this? Your interest in each of the years will fall by 12.5 and you can do the working. समझ में आता है अपने को? Are we clear with this? So basically, as you can see, 100 से 87.5, 87.5 से 75. Fourth year, even if you don't find the outstanding principal, fourth year, what should be your interest? What should be your interest in the fourth year? 62.5, then 50, and then so on. Okay, you will still have to discount it. Discounting factor is at the rate of what? You'll still have to discount it. Discounting factor at the rate of 8%, that is correct. And then you will have PV of CI, PV of cash inflows. Write this down. अभी आप टेबल बनाओ. Take the entire table on your own. Discounting factors 4 decimal. Round off the fourth number, looking at the fifth number. फिर 6 number 7 number आपको नहीं देखना. Just round off the fourth number, looking at the fifth number. PV of CI में आप जो आपके कैलकुलेटर पे पहले 2 डेसिमल तक दिखता है वो लिख लो. इन एनी केस यू आर गोइंग टू पुट दिस इनटू मेमोरी m plus, so it does not really matter. Okay, so prepare this working on your own please. पहले आप ये इतना टेबल बना दो and then extend this for your entire working. Your final answer, as you guys have mentioned, should be greater than 1000. If your answers are in the right direction, it should be greater than 1000. Once you make the columns, try to do this on your own. Do not copy. Copying does not take you anywhere. Use that for verification. If you are going wrong, you need more and more practice. If you are going wrong, you should know where you are going wrong. Discounting factor, memory, addition, किधर जा रहा है, आप खुद से try करोगे तो better रहेगा. I'll just do this for verification, but we have explained the entire concept, entire sum. Now you should try this on your own and just refer to the screen for the purpose of verification only. Please let me know if you have any queries as well. See the number that you are getting and check whether it is greater than 1000 as what you expected. Should be around 1070.41 or 42 as the case may be. Does this number make sense? Was it in line with what you were expecting? Let us say 41, 42, 35 जो भी उसके आजू बाजू में रहेगा, so that's fine. Yes, it does make sense. We were expecting the bond to quote at a premium. The bond is quoting at a premium. Question is asking you to find the bond's present value. This is the bond's present value. So we can just write this down here only. Bond's present value. Let me know once we are done, and then we can go to the next question. Any problems here? Okay. Just wait for a minute, just to ensure everyone else is also done. Please do write once you are done, so that I know once a sufficiently large number of students are done, we can kind of proceed. Okay, chalo. So that takes care of question number 2. Just if question number 3, just if you want, we can just write down a short reference note. Just to point out to this fact that we are taking a principal repayment because we have been given that the bond is amortized equally. Write down, since the bond is amortizing. Since the bond is amortizing equally over 8 years, comma, we have taken the principal repayments in each year. We have taken the principal repayments in each year. Okay. Next we'll go to question number 4. You can mark this as important. So this is one of the questions that you should refer kind of. So question number 4. It's not a very tough question, but it has a couple of concepts which are interesting for you to refer. ABC company is contemplating a debenture issue on the following terms. The face value is rupees 100 per debenture. The term to maturity is 7 years. Coupon rate from years 1 to 2, 3 to 4 and 5 to 7 is different. This is like a staggered interest. Is it possible to issue such bonds? Well, why not? A lot of times infrastructure companies usually issue such bonds. What happens is in an infrastructure company in the starting, you don't have cash flow while you are constructing an infrastructure asset, and hence you borrow money. You don't pay interest in the earlier years, but then interest starts at a higher rate in the later years. It also happens if you are aware in education loans, where while a kid is studying, you don't really pay interest, but it does start when he starts earning, for example. So that it is possible. It's not that this is impossible. It is not anywhere written that coupons have to remain the same each year. Okay. यहाँ पे जो अपन given data में usually summary करके देते, they were already given to you. So you don't need to again show the given data separately. Now comes the interesting part. The current market rate of interest on similar debentures is 15%. Okay. The company proposes to price the issue so as to yield a compounded return of 16% to the investor. Okay, we'll read these two sentences again. These are important sentences. The current market rate of interest on similar debentures is 15%. The company proposes to price the issue so as to yield a compounded return of 16% to the investor. Determine the issue price. Assume redemption also happens at a premium of 5% on the face value. Redemption is happening at a premium, so 100 ka bond 105 pe redeem hoga. And they have asked you to determine the issue price. Read the question again and tell me what should be the discount rate that has to be used in this question. Read the question and tell me what should be the discount rate to be used in this question. Okay, so you're answering 16%. Okay, why 16%? Why should it be 16? Why not 15? Can you tell me the reason? Because usually the discount rate can be the required rate of return for the investor. The investor ideally should be happy at 15%. Then why are you answering 16%? What part of the question tells you that 16 lena chahiye? 16 is right. Return to the investor is 16. That is actual return. But we want to find the issue price is asked. That is exactly the right answer. What is asked is the issue price. If you have to ask, if issue price is asked, then it has to be taken based on what the issuer wants to pay. Investor might expect 15, investor might expect 17, we don't really care. Issue price is asked and the issuer wants to pay 16%. That means the discount factor has to be taken as 16%. So, that will help you in determining the issue price. Let us say all else constant. If you were asked, determine the value that the investor is ready to pay for the bond. Bale rate 16%, but determine the maximum value that the investor would be ready to pay for the bond. Obviously, if the issue price is 80, you will pay 80 only. But we are trying to say that what will be the real value of the bond? How much is the investor ready to pay? वो तो उसका value होता है ना. Then what is the rate you will take? Should you take 15 or then 15? That is correct. So the same question, depending on what is asked, will have a different interpretation. समझ में आ रहा है अपने को? Yes? Okay. Fair. So we'll just solve this question again. The same thing. Can we use PVAF over here? Can we use the PVAF over here? Yes or no? No, you can't, because the coupon rates are quite different. I mean, it does not really make sense to take annuity factors for 2 years separately. So it's better if you make the table. ठीक है? So question 2 जो आपने solve किया था उसमें आप PVF काफी comfortably ले सकते थे. 3 and 4 में it's not advisable. So we'll go to question number 4. Write down. पहले एक reference note लिखेंगे. We don't need to educate the examiner, but we should know. So we'll keep on writing reference notes. These might get a little boring to write, but this will help you while you are revising. So write down reference note. As the question requires us to calculate the issue price. As the question requires us to calculate the issue price, comma, we should take the return we should take the return which the company wants to give to its investors. Which the company wants to give to its investors. That is 16%. That is 16%. Full stop. If the value of the bond from an investor's perspective, if the value of the bond, from an investor's perspective was asked, comma, we would have taken 15%. We would have taken 15%. Okay, we'll prepare the table now. So in your table, you will start with years. You don't need a separate column for principal now because the principal you are going to redeem at the end at a 5% premium. So every year principal payment यहाँ पे नहीं है. So this is years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Cash inflow that you will get in the first year will be how much? 8% of rupees 100. First and the second year will be 8% of rupees 100. So this is 8 and 8. From the next year it will be 12% of 100. This is 12 and 12. And then year 5 say 15. 15. You guys tell me in the 7th year what will we write down? What is the total cash inflow in the 7th year? Please answer. 115. That is incorrect. Read the question properly. 120. That is right. Ideally, it would be 115. That is 15 rupees of interest and 100 rupees of principal. However, the redemption is happening at a 5% premium. And hence, the redemption happens at 105. So, what you are going to get is 15 for interest plus 105 for the principal. And hence, this will be 120. Achha, the discounting factor, as you guys have mentioned correctly, is 16%. And we will take PV of CI. Solve this, please. Acha, hold on. This is a little tricky. This is not necessary कि every time ये आपको बैठना चाहिए आपके mind में. This is a bit tricky, but it is in this question. ये question में देखो rate, coupon rates are fluctuating, but in all cases the coupon rates are fluctuating, but in all cases they are less than the discount rate. Whether you take 8, whether you take 12 or whether you take 15. Now, so you can kind of make a generalistic statement that the coupon in general is lower than the required rate. अगर यहाँ पे 8 होता 12 होता 20 होता तो अपन ये नहीं बोल सकते थे. अपन बोल सकते no, we can't conclude that cross check will not work. Here probably it will work. What do you guys think? Your answer should be less than 100 or more than 100? Less. It is less. That is correct because overall your coupon rate is lower than the discount rate. It should be less than 100. That is correct. So we will stick to the calculations. 1 divided by 1.16. That's 0.8621. 0.7432. 0.6407. 0.5523. 0.4761. 0.4104. 0.3538. अभी कैलकुलेटर के हवाले 8 into 0.8621 m plus, I mean to be honest all of this is going in memory, so यहाँ पे आप एक्चुअली राउंड ऑफ करके लिख सकते हो, बट आपने डायरेक्टली भी लिख लिया रहेगा तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. 8 into 0.7432, 5.95, 12 into 0.6407, 7.69. We do miss our Excel sheets while doing this chapter. 5523, that is 6.63. 15 into 0.4761, 7.14, 15 into 0.4104, 6.16, 120 into 3.3538. What are we getting? Roughly 82.91 or 92 as the case may be. That's fine. अब थोड़ा पैसे इधर से उधर रहेगा, एक आधा डिस्काउंटिंग फैक्टर अपना राउंड ऑफ किया है, एक आधा भूल गए रहेगा तो इतना कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. That is 82.91 let us say. What is being asked? Issue price. So this should be the issue price. There was a query, I'll just... Sir, on what basis do companies decide to redeem at premium or discount at the end of maturity? Well, there's no real rule of law that you have to discount at a premium or discount. It is usually based on the expectation of investors and how much coupon you pay. So for example, if you are overall paying a lower coupon over the life, then you will compensate the investor by redeeming at a premium. If you are paying a higher coupon over life, then you can probably pay redeem at a discount. If you are paying a fair coupon, fair issue price, then you will redeem at par. So there's no rule on when should a company redeem at premium or a discount. Okay? 82.91. Does this make sense? This 82.91 number, does it make sense? Yes? Okay. Are you guys done till here? Or you want me to wait? Done? Aja. Now, without calculations, let me see your understanding of time value concept. This is nothing to do with financial management. This is your understanding of time value concepts. Do not touch your calculators. If the same question was asked from the perspective of the investor, we have written a note and we have also mentioned that यहाँ पे 15% आना चाहिए. This would be 15%, which means your ultimate answer will not be 82.91. However, for our knowledge, will it be greater than 82.91? Or will it be lower? क्या होएगा हमें उससे लेना देना नहीं है, but हमें आना चाहिए. Your discounting factor is now 15 instead of 16, so there is a reduction of discounting factor. Should our answer be greater than 82.91? Should your answer be less than 82.91? Let us see if you can answer correctly. Very nice. It has to be greater. Sir, क्यों greater होना चाहिए? Well, basic time value concepts will tell you that when you are trying to find present value, what you are doing is 8 into 1 upon 1.16. Now, so you are having a higher denominator. Now, instead of this, if you take 8 into 1.15, the denominator falls. Mathematically, just a very basic understanding, mathematically, when you compare 2 and 3, what is greater? What time lag gaya aapko? 2 and 3 is greater. However, when you do 1 by 2 and 1 by 3, what is greater? 1 by 2. So when you take the inverse, what will happen is, well, 16 is greater than 15. No doubts about that. 16 is greater than 15, but what you're doing is you're dividing 16 and dividing 15. And as a result, your answer that you get pure mathematically will be a higher answer when you divide by 15. जैसे आपने बोला 1 by 2 का आंसर greater रहेगा. and a lower answer over here. This is a very important understanding, conceptual. जैसे again ये सब आपको एग्जाम में टेस्ट नहीं किया जाता है, but आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स को डीप करता है. This is a very interesting and an important understanding which most of you have exhibited correctly as well. कि भैया discount rate and present value are inversely related. क्या बोले? Discount rate and present value are inversely related, which means as you keep on decreasing the discount rate, the present value will keep on increasing. Why? As you can clearly see, देखो आपने discount rate 16 से 15 किया, mathematically what when you're discounting, you're dividing by a lower number. If you're dividing by a lower number, coupon remaining constant, your answer has to be higher. It is 2 and 3 versus 1 by 2 and 1 by 3. And as a result, there is an inverse relationship. There is an inverse relationship between the discount rate and the final price that you are getting. सर ये सब समझ के क्या करने का है? आगे जाके जैसे आपको इवन प्रैक्टिकली बॉन्ड के अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ोगे, इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स वगैरह पढ़ोगे, बॉम्बे टाइम्स से बाहर निकल के, एंड इफ यू रीड दीज न्यूज़पेपर्स एंड यू विल सी अ लॉट ऑफ सच लैंग्वेजेस रिटन व्हिच यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू डिसाइफर. दे वुड से दैट since inflation is increasing, RBI increased its market rates, bond yields increased and bond prices fell. अपन बोले कि क्या बोला जा रहा है यार, ये कौन से लैंग्वेज में लिखा जा रहा है? What they are meaning to say is, generally once you have issued a bond, this is just common market knowledge to deepen your understanding of bonds. In common market parlance, what would happen is, once a bond is issued, coupon rates do not change, maturity does not change, nothing changes. However, investors will look at the market interest rate. For example, if RBI were to reduce the market interest rate, your coupons remain intact. और RBI were to increase the market interest rate. RBI का अपने पॉलिसी आया रहेगा, आपने देखा रहेगा पॉलिसी में कभी कभार लिखा था RBI increase this rate, reduce this rate. So if the market rates of interest increase, how will it impact the bond prices? वो आपको समझ में आना चाहिए आपके माइंड में. So we'll say, okay, if the market rate of interest increases because RBI increases the rate, investors will now suddenly want a higher rate of return. Till now they were happy at, let us say, 16. Now they want 17, for example. Till now they were happy at 16. Now they want 17. Acha, I cannot change my coupon. But if the discount rate increases, what impact will it have on my price? You guys tell me. If the RBI increases the interest rate, so investors' required rate of return will increase. So if the investors' required rate of return increases, discount rate increases, deep thought, what will the impact be on bond price? Will the bond price increase or will the bond price fall? Bond price is present value of future cash flows of the bond. Company cannot revise its coupon, वो तो clearly लिखा हुआ है. Tenure revise नहीं होगा. RBI interest rate change करता है. तो I'll just शायद वो there's too much of numbers. Let us say there is a 10% government bond which is in the market, which with a particular price. The market rate of interest was, let us say, 12%, and there was a particular price. Now RBI revises the market rate of interest, in the sense it changes its repo rate, so market rate of interest follows usually. This kind of goes to 13%. So the market rate of interest increases. My question is, how will it impact the bond price? Bond price is nothing but the present value of future cash flows. How will it impact the bond price? Exactly, falls. That is right. So आपको समझ में आता है तो अच्छा है, या फिर for your knowledge just remember that the bond price and discount factor are inversely related, which you guys had correctly answered. You said कि हाँ 16 के बदले 15 लेते थे, that is the discount factor was reduced, which means your answer would have been higher. Your answer would have been higher. Are we clear with this? Yes, this is just additional knowledge. आप ये ऐसे सोचते जाओगे तभी आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स बिल्ड होते जाएंगे. सिर्फ आप सॉल्व करते जाओगे आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स बिल्ड नहीं होएंगे. You will not be able to handle the complex adjustments if they come. You will just be able to handle the adjustments as are done in your book. ठीक है. So इसके नीचे का रेफरेंस नोट और एक लिख के रखेगा. रेफरेंस नोट. In case the discount rate was taken as 15%, in case the discount rate was taken as 15%, comma, the value of the bond would have been greater than 82.91. Would have been greater than 82.91. Would have been greater than 82.91. Full stop. This is because with a different color pen, write down. The discount rate into bracket yield, bracket closed. Discount rate and yield, bracket closed. Discount rate into bracket yield, bracket closed. And the present value into bracket market price, bracket closed, are क्या लिखेंगे? You guys tell me. Directly related, inversely related. क्या लिखेंगे? Inversely related. That is right. Are inversely related. Are inversely related. Achha, if you want, the logic is very simple. You will have, let's say, 8 into 1.16 versus 8 into 1.15. So at a higher denominator, you will get a final higher answer. At a lower denominator, जो भी नंबर आता है आपका, अगर आप देखोगे जस्ट एक वर्किंग के लिए, तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. This is 8 upon 1.16. It's very basic understanding as such. This is 6.89, let us say. This is 8 upon 1.15. Marginal difference रहेगा 6.96, but whatever it is higher. This is lower. ठीक है, तो आप सिर्फ इतना भी लिख दोगे तो आपको होपफुली ये मैथमेटिकल कॉन्सेप्ट है, यहाँ पे अपना कुछ वैसे repeat the note is slightly difficult. I don't have the note handy with me. I'm not just reading out. I've just dictated this as an extra note. So if someone can send us image of that on the group, you should be able to kind of copy that. If I will not have the same exact language, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but someone can just share it on the group. I don't have that written. I just made that as a new note for you guys. So if someone can just share it at the end of the class, you can just kind of complete it. Okay? Okay. So can we proceed now? Are you guys done till here? Understanding? Any problems? Any doubts? Please feel free to ask. Any problems? Any doubts? Right? Okay. Let us go to question number 5 then. Let's go to question number 5. A 6-year bond of rupees 1000 has an annual interest rate of 14%. ठीक है, 6-year bond of rupees 1000 has an annual interest rate of 14%. That is the coupon rate. The interest is paid half yearly. नया adjustment. The interest is paid half yearly. Till now, interest was paid annually unless otherwise given. But here, the interest is paid half yearly. That will have an impact on the solution. We will have to see. If the required rate of return is 16%, unless given otherwise, that is always a percentage per annum number. If the required rate of return is 16%, what is the value of the bond? What is the value of the bond? Just read this small question again. A couple of questions. Let us ignore this information of half yearly for the time being. Let us say ये नहीं दिया रहता था. If this was not given, we would have said that unless given otherwise, interest is paid annually. Now in such a case, in this question, what do you guys think? If that was the case, if that line is cancelled, जो मैंने अभी अब cancel मत करके आओ, line cancel करना नहीं है, just testing or understanding. If that was not given in the question, then what do you guys think? What will be the value of the bond? Will the value of the bond be more than 1000, less than 1000? Answer quickly. More than 1000, less than 1000? Okay, answer slowly, don't worry. Take your time and answer. Ponder upon. The coupon rate is 14 and the required rate of return is 16. So, fundamentally, this is a bond which is giving you a lower coupon. If the bond is giving you a lower coupon, the market price should be less than 1000 or more than 1000. Well, it has to be less than 1000. That is correct. It has to be less than 1000. Correct. Acha, here, can you use PVAF? Is it possible to use PVAF? Yes, because the cash flows are going to be constant. So if nothing was given, we could have used PVAF over here. That half yearly data was not there. We could have said that, okay, what is the interest each year on your calculators? This is 1000 into, let us say, 14%. That comes to, let us say, 140. ये 140 हमें मिलेगा कितने years के लिए? 6 years. Into the PVAF at the rate of 6 years. At the rate of 16%. To discount factor for 6 years. Anything else that you will have to adjust apart from this 140? Anything else? Anything else? What? ये अपन ले लेंगे, चलो जो भी number आएगा. Anything else that you have to add to this? The redemption value. Ajay, if nothing is given, like question 2, it was clearly given it redeems at par. It matures at par, maturity pay. Question 3, it was clearly given it amortizes. Question 4, it was given that redemption is happening at a premium of 5% on face value ultimately. Question 6 में 5 में कुछ भी नहीं दिया हुआ है. So if nothing is given, implicitly what are we going to assume? Do we assume amortization or we assume maturity at par? That is right. You assume maturity at par and as a result, this will be 1000 into the present value factor at the rate of 16% for the 6th year. So this is 1 divided by 1.16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if grand total functions on your calculator, you can take that. Otherwise, you can take memory. So this is 3.6847 and 1 divided by 1.16. I think 0.4104. Is my working correct? Okay, so this is 140 into 3.6847 m plus and 1000 into 0.4104 m plus. Memory recall 926. Does this number make sense? 926 point let's say 26. Does this number make sense to you? Yes, it does, because we expected the price to be lower. Well, it is indeed lower. Okay, perfect. So this should have been your answer and we could have proceeded to the next question directly. The problem is, ये चीज जो अपने cancel किया वो वैसे cancel हुआ नहीं है. Will your solution change because of this line or will it remain the same? Will your solution change or will it remain the same? Well, it has to change. Why? Because what we are doing over here is we are assuming that 140 will be received in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, in year 4, in year 5, in year 6. As a matter of fact, that is not going to be the case. You are not going to receive 140. Instead, you are going to receive 1000 into 14% into 6 by 12. That is, you are going to receive 70. And that 70 you are going to receive after 6 months. Then, after another 6 months, you are going to receive another 70. Then another 70 and so on. So, instead of receiving, please listen to this carefully, instead of receiving 146 times annually, you are going to receive 70 rupees semi-annually. 70 rupees semi-annually. How many times? Are you still going to receive it 6 times only? 70 rupees 12 times. That is correct. So when you are doing the cash flow calculations, it is the present value of future cash flows. You cannot say 70 rupees after 6 months and 70 rupees after 12 months is one and the same. They are not. 70 rupees after 6 months and 70 rupees after 12 months are not the same. Sir, तो फिर क्या करें हम? Well, if you had to prepare the table, you will prepare the table then for 70 for a period of 12 installments because you have received it 12 times. You just can't do it over 6 times. As you guys have rightly mentioned, 12 times आना चाहिए. So you have received 70 rupees, that is 14% over 1 year, equivalent to around 7% for 6 months. So over here, still can you use PVAF? Is 70 constant? Is 70 constant? Can you use PVAF still? Yes, you can. 70 is still constant. So let us say, we'll say present value of future cash flows, that is 70 rupees. अच्छा, यहाँ पे तो working same ही करेंगे, 16% for 6 years. Is that correct? Will this PVF continue to remain the same? No, because 70 rupees is received over how many half years? It is not over, that is right. It is received over 12 half years, 12 periods or 12 half years. And now you will solve. Is this correct or is this still wrong? आगे का बाद में देखते हैं. Is this correct or is this still wrong? Do you have to make any other change? Yes. Okay. See, 12 half years, it is not 12 years. 16% is the required rate of return per annum. It is not required rate of return for half year. 16% required per annum is equivalent to how much required rate of return for 6 months. 16% required rate of return per annum is how much for 8 months. That is right. That is 8%. So now you take 8%. So now 70, which is the coupon for 6 months, against 8%, which is the required rate of return also for 6 months, and 12 half years, which you will take for your calculation. The calculation has to be consistent. So यहाँ पे अगर आप half years ले रहे हो तो ये working में भी आपको half years लेना पड़ेगा. It has to be internally consistent, and hence your working would be modified. अच्छा, now is there anything wrong in this, or we can now solve? Is there anything wrong, or does this make sense now? Is this correct? Yes? Okay, perfect. So let us try to take the revised discounting factors. You will see there will be a slight difference, but time का तो value होता है. I'll not erase it so that you can see the difference. 1 divided by 1.08 equals to, कितनी बार करेंगे ये अपन? 12 times. 2, let's say 1 divided by 1.08. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. अब साथ में सॉल्व कर सकते हो. I mean, you don't need to write this, but ये जो नंबर आता है, this is a 12th years factor. You can see 0.3971. Here you are taking like half yearly compounding रहता है, you are taking half yearly compounding. You are not doing annual compounding. So answers थोड़े differ करेंगे. You are doing, let's say, kind of half yearly compounding. And if you take the grand total, this is 7.5361, let us say. If you multiply this, I hope you are understanding. You are doing half yearly compounding. अपन बोले हाँ half year में पैसा आ रहा है 70, उसके बाद another half year के बाद पैसा आ रहा है. So when the money is received after 1 year, you are saying that this is considering 8% on a half yearly basis. We just pay attention now. बाद में साथ में solve करते. 70 into 7.5361 m plus 1000 into 0.3971 m plus, and you will see there is a slight difference, but आपके marks कटने के लिए वो more than enough है. 924.63 is your answer. Sir, will the PVA for discounting factor be given in the question like inter-CA? Rarely. Certain cases it is given, but that is rare. If it is given, you will take the factors given in the question. Otherwise, you will have to solve. Sir, but what about not taking time value in consideration if payment is received made in less than 12 months? Sorry. What about not taking the time value in consideration if payment is received or made in less than 12 months? You are taking the time value into consideration. This working, even for the first installment when you are doing, this working is made as, instead of years, there will be half year. So half year 1, uska first cash inflow of 70, you will discount at the rate of 8%. So this will be 1 divided by 1.08. This will be 0.9259. For example, so you are taking the time value into consideration even for the first installment, right? So whenever the payments are made in less than 12 months, we don't necessarily stick to the annual compounding principles. आपको accordingly जैसे payments है वैसे आपका compounding principles भी change होएंगे. You are compounding each of the installments. If you are not clear with the PVAF, you can make this table 0.8573 and so on, and after 12 such installments will find the same number. Do we want to make the table or is it understandable? If you want, we'll make the table. Okay, fair enough. So fair. Aja, let us say this was half yearly. Half yearly, we will make it a little more complex. What if this was given quarterly? Will your solution again change? This was given quarterly. Will your solution change? Yes. Acha, will you still have 70? No. We will say, dekho, 1000 into 14% into 3 by 12. That comes to 35 rupees. This will no longer be 70. This will be 35 rupees received in the first quarter. Into PVAF. Acha, will you take 8%? Nice, sir. 8% to half year mein, 16% per annum hai. That is equivalent to how much? Very nice. That is 4%. And we will still take 12 half years? No. We will say कि भैया 6 years है and हर एक year में 4 quarter है. 6 into 4 comes to 24. So this will be for 24 quarters. And you will solve. Basically, if I were to summarize this treatment, before we start solving, if I were to summarize this treatment and write down as a reference note, in case the coupon payments are other than annual, in case the coupon payments are other than annual, then you will find the coupons as coupon percentage per annum divided by M. M क्या होता है? Frequency of payments in a year. Semi-annual में it is 2, तो आपने divided by 2 किया. Quarterly it is 4, तो divided by 4 करेंगे. If it is monthly, divided by 12 करेंगे. If coupon is the cash flow which is taken for each quarter, then the required rate of return should also be for each quarter. 16% per annum is equal to 16% divided by M. Quarterly, there are 4 quarters in a year, so 16% divided by 4, that is 4% per quarter, and you will take the number of quarters, that is the years into the frequency of the quarters in a year, that is 4. 6 into 4, that is 24. Are we getting this? And then you will solve. You should be getting the answers then. Are we clear with this? Any other problems? नहीं? अच्छा, तो एक काम करते हैं, question number 5. Before that, we'll write a reference note for some theory and then we will solve the main question. Question number 5. Write down ref note. Reference note. Write down. In case the coupon payments, are made quarterly, half yearly, etc. Quarterly, half yearly, etc. Into bracket, that is not annually, bracket closed. That is not annually, bracket closed. The following changes will be made. The following changes will be made. While solving. Point 1, coupon divided by M. यहाँ पे कोई और अल्फाबेट भी हो सकता है. M is the frequency in a year basically. Discount rate again divided by M. And point 3, time period this is multiplied by M. where M equals frequency, write this down, M equals frequency in a year when cash flows are received. That is 2 colon half yearly, 4 colon quarterly, 12 comma monthly, etc. Are we done till here? Acha, below this write down. Acha, unless given otherwise, the coupon rate and the required rate are always percentage per annum number. A case in point is, if you have a bank account with the bank, I would request you to once visit either the bank or abhi to sab online milta. You can just Google up and say FD rates, fixed deposit rates. When you Google up fixed deposit rates, there will be a big table that will come for your bank. Let's say you have an account with HDFC Bank, there will be a big table. Rates for 7 days, 14 days, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 60 months. काफी सारे इंटरेस्ट रेट्स मिलेंगे, बट सभी इंटरेस्ट रेट्स आप देखोगे परसेंटेज पर एनम होंगे. इट इज मार्केट प्रैक्टिस. इवन इफ यू टेक अ 6 month FD or a 5 year FD, the rates that are quoted are always percentage per annum rate, so that an investor can correctly compare. He would say, हाँ 6 month के FD में इतना मिलेगा, 3 month में इतना मिलेगा on a percentage per annum basis. So unless given otherwise, यहाँ पे काफी बच्चे डिबेट करते हैं, बोलते कि नहीं, we have been given that this is the annual rate of interest, but we have not been given that 16% is per annum. Who says 16% can be for 6 months as well? Well, unless given otherwise, we will always assume that these are percentage per annum numbers and this is in line with the institute solution. So अगर आपको सिर्फ 16% बोला होता था तो भी अपन बोलते थे 16% per annum. अगर आपको सिर्फ 14% बोला होता तो भी अपन बोलते थे 14% per annum, and you can see that in practice with your banks as well. Okay, so write this down. एक चीज और ऐड कर लेंगे. Write down unless given otherwise, comma, unless given otherwise, comma, the coupon rates and discount rates given in the question are percentage per annum numbers. PCPA बोलते थे ना, percentage per annum numbers. ठीक है. Now we'll write down that solution which we have done. So over here it's a fairly small solution. So write down over here solution में, अभी main solution का अपन part है. Write down. In this point 1, in this case, comma. Achha, we said that unless given otherwise, the coupon rate and the discount rate given in the question are percentage per annum numbers. Okay, write down solution के अंदर अभी point 1, in this case, comma, interest is paid half yearly. Interest is paid half yearly. And hence the following numbers would be taken for the half yearly calculations. Following numbers would be taken for the half yearly calculations. sub point A coupon, sub point B discount. You can just write this down. Sub point C time periods, 6 years into 2, that is 12 half years. Let me know once we are done till here. ओके, पॉइंट 2 इज ऑन वैल्यूएशन. ये अपन ने जो लिख के रखा है वो सेम चीज अपन यहाँ पे लिखेंगे, वैल्यूएशन. So this is B0. B0 is the value of the bond today, equals 70 rupees into, you will have PV, let's say AF लिख लो. I mean, this is just a name. It's not technically the annuity factor, but nevertheless, at the rate of 8% for 12 periods, plus 1000 at the end, into the present value factor, again at the rate of 8% for the 12th period. Take these numbers, show these totals, and that will give you the value of the bond, which as per your calculation should ideally be less than 1000. Do this please. Okay, so how much are we getting? 7.8 7.5361. So over here this was 7.5361 and 0.3971. Ultimately, if you total this, you should be getting 900 and कितना था 24.63. ये यहाँ पे दोनों numbers आएंगे and ultimately this is 924.63. 62 or 63 ऐसा case में भी. Are we clear with this? Okay, fair. So now before we proceed, there are some questions on valuation that we would still need to do, but before that you will have to go to the next concept of bond, which is bond yields, that is bond returns. This will be the question where it will be the other way around. The question will give you everything. The question will give you the market price, the question will give you the bond features, but it will not give you the discount rate. And this is how a bond yield is done in practice. This is quite important. Pay attention, there are various measures of yield. We will first do the best measure of yield, and if nothing is given, that is the real measure according to me, and that is market standard as well, even the institute solutions. So what do you mean by yield? The word yield quite literally means the word return. Let us say if I were to restate question number 2 that we just solved in today's class, I were to restate question number 2 to say that this is a bond which has a coupon of 9%. It is a bond which has a term, let us say, of 5 years. It is a bond which has a face value of, let us say, 1000. And if we go to our question 2 that we had done, 962.06. So the question or the data actually, please pay attention. This will give you very good market understanding. And it is important from an exam perspective as well. The question tells you that this bond is available in the market. It gives you the market price at 962.06. It tells you that this bond is available in the market at 962.06. So what does the question ask you? It asks you calculate the discount rate, or rather the yield to maturity. So it will say that what is an investor earning on his bond. Please pay attention to this. अपने को हर एक क्वेश्चन में डिस्काउंट रेट देकर रखा था, बट इज इट नेसेसरी दैट डिस्काउंट रेट इज गिवन? वेल नो. इन फैक्ट इन प्रैक्टिस दिस इज अ बेटर वे ऑफ solving or interpreting a particular market trend, because discount rate ऐसे मार्केट में थोड़ी ना मिलता है खुलेआम. Market, अच्छा, you guys tell me, can we find the market price of the bond very easily? Can we find the market price of the bond very easily? Yes or no? Yes, you can look up to Google, you can go to Money Control, you can go to Bloomberg, there are various softwares, you can go to BSE, NSE where bonds are listed, and you can look at the market price. Achha, can you find the coupon rate and the tenure of the bond and the face value of the bond very easily? In practice, you can go to Reliance. Yes, even that is available, which means, can we say all of these data points should be available in the market very easily. Now, as a practitioner, the problem arises, someone says, आपके माइंड में आया हुआ होना चाहिए कि यार सर बोल रहे मार्केट रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, ये मार्केट रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट बताता कौन है? Who will tell us the market rate of interest? Well, no one tells you the market rate of interest. You will have to interpret, you will have to infer the market rate of interest. Sir, how will we do that? How will we find that discount rate? For example, you are wanting to find the market rate of interest, then you would say that maybe you want to take a loan for, let us say, or you want to invest money for, let us say, 5 years. You will say, what is the safest form of investment? Let us say the safest form of investment is government bonds. उसके बाद कॉर्पोरेट बॉन्ड्स आते हैं, वो सब अपन देखेंगे, जैसे कंपनी बॉन्ड्स इशू करते हैं, उनके क्रेडिट रेटिंग होते हैं वगैरह वगैरह. गवर्नमेंट इज द मोस्ट सेफेस्ट. सो वी विल से, लेट अस सी हाउ मच द गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स फॉर अवर डिजायर्ड मेच्योरिटी. लेट अस से अवर डिजायर्ड मेच्योरिटी इज 5 years. So we will say, how much do the government bonds give us if I were to invest my money today for a period of 5 years? Can we say that the government bonds give us a return of 9%? Tell me, correct my understanding. Is this correct? Is it wrong? Is it correct to say that the government bonds are giving us a return of 9%? Is this correct? Is this wrong? Is the real return that we are getting from the government bonds 9%? प्लीज डू आंसर. आप सो गए क्या? Others as well. It's fine if you go wrong. My question is, if I want to find the market rate of interest, or if I want to find a return that I'm earning in today's market, if I were to invest in the government bond today itself at its prevailing market price and hold it till maturity, then is my real return only 9%? Is my real return only 9%? What do you guys think? No, it is not. Probably it is more. Coupon is not always necessarily the real return. In fact, have you heard about bonds called as zero coupon bonds? Have you heard about bonds called as zero coupon bonds? Yes, in that the coupon is zero. तो क्या उसका मतलब मार्केट में 0% rate of interest चल रहा है? नहीं. We are trying to find the real rate of interest if, understand this, if I were to invest in the bond today at today's market price. अच्छा, if I were to invest in the bond today at today's market price, how much money will I spend? How much money will I spend? 962.06, which means my present value of cash outflow, PV of CO for an investor, present value of cash outflow for an investor in today's market is 962.06. Acha, if I invest 962.06, will I get a cash inflow in return? Will I get a cash inflow in return? Yes or no? Yes. Acha, what will I get? I will get 100 in first year, 100 in second year, 100 in third year, 100 in fourth year, 100 in fifth year, and then 1000 at the end of the fifth year. Acha, let me just try to go back into your past and see if you remember. I want to find the rate of return that I'm earning when I invest 962 today. And that project, ये project में कोई uncertainty नहीं है. Let us say this was a capital budgeting question, and you were told in capital budgeting chapter that a company invests 962.06 in a project today, and this company will get cash inflows of 100 rupees at the end of each year, and then a salvage value. उधर अपन salvage बोलते थे, a salvage value of 1000 rupees at the end of the fifth year. What is the rate of return that the company is earning on the project? उसको हम capital budgeting के language में क्या बोलते थे? Do you guys remember? What? Very nice. It was called as the internal rate of return, or also called as the IRR. What was the feature of IRR? How did we find IRR, and what was the feature of IRR? IRR was the real rate of return on the project. There the project was a dam, a highway, a bridge, a machine. Here the project is a bond. At the end of it, you are trying to find your real rate of return. Whether it is a highway project or it is a bond project, you are trying to find a real rate of return. And the feature of IRR is, IRR was the real rate of return on the project or the bond, and the feature of IRR is, it is a rate at which the present value of the cash outflow. Tell me, what is the relationship with the present value of cash outflow and present value of cash inflow? It is, IRR is the rate at which the present value of cash outflow is, option A, greater than the present value of cash inflow, option B, less than the present value of cash inflow, option C, equal to the present value of cash inflow. It has to be equal. So IRR has to be that rate at which what you are spending for a machine or for a bond, that is 962.06, is equal to the rate that you are earning. So let us say PV of CI, present value of cash inflows. You would want to find the present value of your cash inflows. We're doing it at absolute basics. इसके बाद अपन थोड़े, after a few lectures, we'll directly go to the advanced concepts, but first we're doing everything at absolute basics. Here can we use the PVAF? Here can we use the PVAF if you want to find the present value? If you want to find the present value, can we use the PVAF? Yes or no? Yes, we can, because the cash flows are equal. Cash flows क्या है? यहाँ पे कोई भी uncertainty नहीं है. If you were to buy the bond today and hold it till maturity, then you are necessarily going to get 100 over 5 years and then 1000 at the end of the fifth year. So you start your present value calculation and then you hit a roadblock. What will you take as a discount rate? How did we do this in your interCA? Do you remember? What will you take as a discount rate? Very nice. That is trial and error. You will have to, जैसे अपन बोलते हैं ना, मटका लग गया, luck by chance. You will have to take the trial and error method. Unfortunately, still now you have not been allowed Excel sheets in your exams. And till the time you are going to give the exams, we are still not going to have Excel sheets, though in the future we do expect deep into the future there would be cases where you will have Excel sheets, like in the ACCA exams. Now the ACCA Institute is starting to, it's now only going to be a computer based exams. Your diploma, IFRS, ACCA exams, a lot of them are now going to be computer based exams, and where they are giving you Word files, Excel files, calculators, everything online. So probably in a few years from now, not before you give your exam, you will have Excel sheet, and then IRR loses its difficulty, because in an Excel you can easily put a formula and get the IRR in front of you, but यहाँ पे अब तक ऐसा नहीं है. So if you have to do that, you have to do it by the trial and error method. And using the trial and error method, which rate will you start with is always a problem. You don't have to show this to the examiner, but in bond questions, you can try to find an approximate starting point. अप्रोक्सीमेट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट ये अपन अपने कैलकुलेटर पे भी कर सकते हैं, रफ में कर सकते हैं. अप्रोक्सीमेट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट क्या रहता है? अपन बोलते हैं देखो बॉन्ड आपको रिटर्न दे रहा है. व्हाट आर द सोर्सेज ऑफ रिटर्न फ्रॉम अ बॉन्ड? ओनली टू सोर्सेज ऑफ रिटर्न. सोर्स नंबर 1 इंटरेस्ट, सोर्स नंबर 2 कैपिटल गेन्स. सो इंटरेस्ट कितना है बॉन्ड का? सर कूपन 9% पर एनम, दैट इज 90 रुपीज. You want to find the yield to maturity or the interest rate per annum. Please understand this. 90 रुपीज आपको पर एनम मिलेगा, प्लस कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन. कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन कितना होएगा? वेल अल्टीमेटली 1000 रुपीज यू आर गोइंग टू गेट ऑन रिडेम्पशन, एंड यू हैव इन्वेस्टेड हाउ मच ऑन द बॉन्ड? यू हैव इन्वेस्टेड ओनली 962.06, which means you will get a capital appreciation of 1000 minus 962.06, that comes to around 37.94. You guys tell me, does capital appreciation happen each year, that is on a per annum basis, or does capital appreciation happen once in the lifetime? Does capital appreciation happen each year? In the sense, your capital gains of 37 जो मैंने ये आपको दिखाया हुआ है, is it going to happen each year? Like interest आपको 90 रुपीज का each year मिलेगा. वैसे कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन क्या आपको ईच ईयर मिलेगा क्या? नहीं, वो इट विल हैपन वंस एट द टाइम ऑफ योर अल्टीमेट सेल. यू विल गेट अ कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन फॉर श्योर, एंड देयर इज नो एम्बिग्यूटी इन दैट. इन बॉन्ड देयर इज नो एम्बिग्यूटी, बिकॉज आपको ये मिलना ही है कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन, बिकॉज कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअली अग्रीड है 1000 आपको वापस आएगा ही आएगा, एंड आपको आज 962 इन्वेस्ट करना है. सो देयर इज नो अनसर्टेनिटी इन एनी ऑफ दिस. Now the problem is interest is per annum. This 90 you are going to receive per annum. However, this 1000 you are going to receive only once over the tenure, so you will divide it by 5. तो अपन बोलेंगे okay, 37 which is received once is equivalent to how much per annum on a rough basis. So you will say 37.94 divided by 5. Okay, 37.94 divided by 5. Okay, so this will give you 90 per annum plus in the numerator divided by 5, 7.59 of capital appreciation per annum. सर कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन थोड़ी ना एवरी ईयर मिलता है, नहीं मिलता है, बट हमें एक स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट चाहिए ना एरर के लिए. ट्रायल एंड एरर में क्या, ये तो आप 5%, 10%, 15% पूरा टाइम ये करते जाओगे, इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. सो यू कैन फाइंड एन अप्रोक्सीमेट स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट वेरी इजीली. दिस माइट साउंड अ लिटिल लॉन्ग टू यू, बट ये आप डायरेक्टली कैलकुलेटर पे कर सकते हो. आपको एग्जामिनर को ये सब दिखाने का जरूरत नहीं है. So this is 7.59 per annum upon the investment, and I mean ideally the investment is how much? The investment is 962.06, but we take the average investment. It will give you a much more accurate number. So the average investment is 962.06. However, slowly 962.06 का आप slowly 1000 के towards जाएगा ना, because redemption 1000 पे होने वाला है. So this is plus 1000 divided by 2. It is like saying that when there is a zero coupon bond, if you buy a zero coupon bond with a 4-year maturity at 60 rupees, ultimately slowly वो 60 से 70, 70 से 80, 80 से 90 और 90 से 100 जाता है. So you are saying on an average 60 plus 100 divided by 2, that is 80 is the average amount. In a similar way, यहाँ पे अपन average amount ले रहे. अगर आप चाहो तो आप opening भी ले लो, मेरे हिसाब से वो चलेगा, but ये आपको much more accurate starting point देगा अगर आप average लेते हो तो. The idea is to take the approximate starting point. So this is 962.06 plus 1000 divided by 2. Basically, you are trying to find return on investment. So this is, let's say, 981.03. So on an average, you are going to get return in the numerator in the form of interest as well as in the form of capital appreciation. On a per annum basis, this is 97.59. कोई बोलेगा सर किधर every year 97.59 मिल रहा है? नहीं मिल रहा है. each year 90 मिल रहा है, and then ultimately 37 मिल रहा है, but on an average, on a per annum basis, that is 97.59 divided by, on an average, the investment. आपने आज जेब से निकाल, कैश आउटफ्लो पर 962 है, बट अगर आप अपने लेजर देखो, इवन आप व्हेन यू स्टडी अकाउंट्स, यू विल फाइंड दैट स्लोली यू विल रिकॉर्ड द इन्वेस्टमेंट 962 से लेके प्लस 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 करके आप उसको 1000 पे लेके जाओगे. Yes, it is very similar to the formula for cost of debt, but वहां पे into 1 minus t आप करते हो, यहाँ पे आप 1 minus t नहीं कर रहे हो. So over here this is 981.03 and that is 97.59 divided by 981.03. इतना मेहनत करने के बाद आपको एक 9.94% जितना नंबर दिख रहा है, रफली 9.94%. यू डोंट हैव टू, अगेन रिपीट, अगर आप दिखाना चाहो तो आप शो करो एग्जामिनर को, बट यू डोंट हैव टू नेसेसरली शो दिस. व्हाई आर वी डूइंग दिस? सो दैट वी कैन फाइंड अ गुड स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट. अच्छा, 9.94 इज क्लोजेस्ट टू विच होल नंबर? 9.94 is closest to which whole number? 10%. And hence we will take trial and error. Let us say starting at 10%. Let us say starting at 10%. So this is PVAF at the rate of 10% for, let us say, 5 years plus 1000 into present value factor at the rate of 10% for the 5th year. This will give you, I think, 3.7908 and this will give you 0.6209. You can calculate it if you want to. ये आएगा आपको 100 into 3.7908 m plus, that is 379.08 plus 1000 into 0.6209 m plus, this is 620.9. Memory recall 999.98, that is 1000. So is your प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, एक सेकेंड, नहीं मेरा गलती हो गया यहाँ पे, आई एम सॉरी, योर कूपन इज नॉट 100, योर कूपन इज 90, माय बैड. सो ये गलती हो गया था. सो दिस इज 90 इंटू 3.7908, दैट इज 341.17. कूपन अपना 9% था, क्वेश्चन के अंदर 9% था. 341.17 m plus and 620.9 m plus NMRC. We are getting 962.06. ये तो अपने को पता था आंसर क्या आने वाला है. We will also do something else, but for the time being, do we need to do anything else? Do we need to do anything else? Can we say that the internal rate of return or the IRR of this bond is 10% because that is the rate where present value of cash outflow equals the present value of cash inflows? Yes, we will do that summary. Just give me a minute. Can we say that this is the rate at which the present value of cash outflow is equal to the present value of cash inflow? Yes or no? Which means 10% is the IRR. And this is called as, in bond language, yield to maturity. अगर आप CNBC वगैरह देखते हो जहां पे बॉन्ड का डिस्कशन होता है, पूरा डिस्कशन ये टॉपिक के ऊपर ही होगा. दे विल से यील्ड्स आर चेंजिंग, दे विल से yields are going up, yields are going down, जो भी रहता है वो ये yield के बारे में ही बात हो रहा है. This is a yield to maturity. What does a yield to maturity mean? Remember, it is always implicit. Yield to maturity आपको मार्केट में सीधा सामने दिखता नहीं है. What is yield to maturity? It is derived from the market price which is available for the bonds in the market and the features of the bond. So you will try to find the rate at which, looking at the current market price, if there is an investor who pays 962 today, holds the bonds for 5 years, then in today's terms he is assured without any problems, he is assured of a return of 10% per annum. So though the coupon rate might be 9%, investors are earning 10% per annum. You can clearly see this as the IRR. You can clearly see this as the IRR. Are we getting this? So what is the return, what is the market rate of interest, we will look at the market. We will see the bonds which is the most common to our risk. So let us say we are investing in a risk-free bond. We will look at a government bond and we will say a government bond of a similar maturity of 5 years, which is risk-free, is available in the market as 962, and it has the following features, which means how much is that bond actually giving me? That bond is actually giving you 10%, and hence a similar bond which is also risk-free, you will expect a 10% return. You will expect a 10% return. Are we able to understand this? Yes? Okay. Now let me make it a little more complicated before we do the approximate working. पहले अपन main working समझने का try करते हैं. Is it necessary that the bond price has to be 962? Is it possible that the bond price would have been 950? The question tells you that the bond price is 950. Now comes the interesting part. The bond price is 950. So what is your present value of cash outflow? What is your present value of cash outflow? Well, this is 950. बराबर क्या नहीं? आपको तो आज 950 का चेक लिख के देना पड़ेगा, तभी आप बॉन्ड के मालिक बन जाओगे. Now, can we still say that an investor who pays 950 in today's terms is actually earning a 10% return only, or is the return different? Is the return still 10% or is it different? What do you guys think? Different. Why is it different? Well, IRR is the rate where the present value of cash outflows equal the present value of cash inflows. Yield to maturity is nothing but a bonds version of IRR. IRR capital budgeting में आप यूज करते हैं, बॉन्ड में वो ही exact same चीज को आप yield to maturity YTM बोलते हो. So yield to maturity means if I were to invest in the bond at today's market price, that is 950, and hold it till maturity, that is 5 years, what is the return that I'm getting on a percentage per annum basis? So over here we want to find the IRR. So अपने trial and error में let us say कैसे तो approximate working किया. Your approximate working will also change, but let us say approximate working आपने किया and it comes at 10%. For example, we'll first focus on the IRR calculation, then go to the approximate working. So let us say we take the starting point at 950 and then we solve. We get 10% by 962. IRR is not 10%. What will you have to do? You will have to change. And यहाँ पे आपको एक आपका knowledge आपको अप्लाई करना है. Should you go from 10 to 11? You'll have to do one more calculation. It's not 10, but then if it is not 10, it's either higher than 10 or it is lower than 10. According to you, is it higher? Is your real return higher than 10 or lower than 10? Higher than 10. Why? IRR is the rate where a present value of cash inflows should equal the present value of cash outflows. Here your present value of cash inflows is 962. At 10% is 962. However, cash outflow is 950. Please pay attention to this. Do you want to reduce your present value to reach at 950 or do you want to increase your present value? हमारा target है 950. The rate where PV of CI is also 950 is your IRR. Do we have to reduce your present value or do we have to increase the present value? What do you guys think? प्रेजेंट वैल्यू डू वी हैव टू रिड्यूस और इंक्रीज? रिड्यूस. अच्छा, अगर हमें प्रेजेंट वैल्यू कैलकुलेशन के लिए रिड्यूस करना है, रिमेंबर प्रेजेंट वैल्यू एंड डिस्काउंट रेट आर इनवर्सली रिलेटेड. रिमेंबर वी हैड जस्ट डिस्कस्ड कि भैया अगर हमें हमारा प्रेजेंट वैल्यू रिड्यूस करना है तो डिस्काउंट रेट हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? विल यू हैव टू इंक्रीज द डिस्काउंट रेट और रिड्यूस इट? Inverse relation, increase it, and hence you will go from 10 to 11 or 10 to 9. Tell me, the next calculation should be at 11%. Perfect. So let us say we try to calculate at 11%. Trial and error. So PV of CI. CO तो आपने immediately 950 का चेक लिख के दे दिया तो कोई टेंशन नहीं है. So this is not 100. I'm sorry again. 90 into the present value annuity factor. Please do the calculations and tell me the numbers quickly. At 5 years and then 1000 at the end of the 5th year. Present value factor at the rate of 11% for the 5th year. Please do the calculations and tell me at 11%. भाव नहीं खाने का ज्यादा. Okay, 3 point. So you have 0.5935. Let us say वो generally easier रहता है, वो पहले आपको दिख जाता है. And then 3.69. 3.69, that's correct. 59, let us say. Let us multiply that on our calculators. 90 into 3.6959 m plus 1000 into 0.5935 m plus MRC. This is 926. 0.13. Okay, I'll ask you the next question. Do you think 11% is the IRR? Do you think the IRR is 11%? No. Do you think the IRR is 10%? No. Acha, is the IRR greater than 11? Option A. It's not 10 and 11. Is it greater than 11? Option A. Or is it between 10 and 11? Option B. It is between 10 and 11. It is somewhere in the middle because 10 के ऊपर आपको present value आता है 961, 11 के ऊपर आपको present value आता है 926. So it is somewhere in the middle. How will you find that? Do you remember कैसे find करते थे, इसको क्या बोलते थे? That process of finding this was called as something called as interpolation. This was interpolation. Interpolation, with all due respect, is a very sophisticated name for cross multiplication. What we are doing essentially is actually cross multiplying only. What do you do in interpolation? Remember this basic rule. We'll write this down in tomorrow's class as well. But अभी अपन एक बार इसको concept समझ लेते हैं. By interpolation. Interpolation means it is somewhere between 10 and 11. But where is it? How will we find? So we will say let the desired rate be x. X minus the lower number. What? Between 10 and 11. Which is the lower number? Between 10 and 11. Which is the lower number? 10. Very smart. Upon the higher number minus the lower number. 11 minus 10. Upon higher number minus lower number. जो ये एकदम easy है. So you have to take the higher number minus lower number. Left hand side पे आप rates रखो, right hand side पे आप present values रखो. I'll again repeat. On the left hand side you'll have the rates. On the right hand side you'll have the present values. Sir, but कौन से rates? On the left hand side higher numbers minus lower numbers, and on the right hand side ये जो rate आपने लिया वो rate पे क्या present value आना चाहिए? At x your desired present value is how much? At x, which is your final IRR, your desired present value is how much? 950. Excellent. At 10%, what is your present value? At 10%, what is your present value? 962.06. Okay. अच्छा, then you have to tell me denominator में, अगर आपको ये समझ में आया जो अपन ने किया है न्यूमरेटर में, वही लॉजिक से आप मेरे को डिनोमिनेटर में बोलो व्हाट माइनस व्हाट आना चाहिए. 11 का नंबर आपके सामने है, 10 का नंबर इज 962.06. इन द डिनोमिनेटर यू विल राइट व्हाट माइनस व्हाट. 926.13 minus 962.06. Brilliant, because this is at 11%. So we'll say left hand side पे हमने rate लिखा तो right hand side पे उसका present value factor लिखेंगे. This is 962.06. नहीं, sorry, ये 11 का रेट 926 है. 926.13 माइनस दिस. एंड वंस यू फॉर्मुलेट दिस इक्वेशन, उसके बाद तो आपने जो 11th 12th और स्कूल में जो इक्वेशन सॉल्व करने को सीखा है उसके ऊपर ही है ये पूरा. सो ओवर हियर इफ यू सॉल्व दिस, 10% इज नथिंग बट 10 डिवाइडेड बाय 100, that is 0.1. 11% is per 100. So therefore this is x minus 0.1 अपॉन 0.11 माइनस 0.10. बराबर. अच्छा, अभी यहां पे आएगा एक माइनस 12.06 अपॉन 926.13 माइनस 962.06. दिस इज माइनस 35.93. अच्छा, कैन वी से माइनस एंड माइनस विल काइंड ऑफ गेट कैंसल्ड विद ईच अदर. Yes, therefore this will be x minus 0.1 upon 0.01 equals, यहाँ पे माइनस एंड माइनस कैंसिल हो जाएगा, 12.06 upon 35.93. Therefore x minus 0.10, if you were to solve, this is 12.06 upon 35.93 into, we are taking 0.01 on the other side, 0.01. Therefore x over here, अभी आप 0.1 भी अदर साइड पे लेके जाओगे, 0.1 प्लस 12.06 upon 35.93 into 0.01. And if you were to solve this, this is 0.1 plus 12.06 into 0.01 divided by 35.93, which comes to 0.0034. And the rate that you are earning is on an average 10.34% per annum. So if you were to discount at 10.34%, ये तो अपन ने 10 और 11 पे किया, you on your calculator you can also discount at 10.34%. If you were to discount at 10.34%, you will find that the present value of cash inflows will equal the present value. ये आपको अभी दिखाने का जरूरत नहीं है. This is just for your knowledge. PVCO was 950. You have spent 950 on the bond. PVCI, if I were to take at 10.34%, then this will be 90 into the present value annuity factor at the rate of 10.34% for 5 years plus 1000 into, tell me the numbers quickly, present value factor at the rate of 10.34% for the 5th year. So first the 5th year's number 1 upon 1.034, 1 2 3 4 5, ये अपन सिर्फ क्रॉस वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं. 0.6114 grand total 3.7581. If I multiply this 90 into 3.7581 m plus 1000 into 0.6114 m plus MRC 949 point something, which is approximately equal to 950 rounded off. Which means the real return that you are earning from the bond is 10.34%. and जब भी आप न्यूज़पेपर्स में CNBC पे मनी कंट्रोल में देखते हो that the market rate of interest is changing, मार्केट में रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट चेंज नहीं होता है डायरेक्टली, बॉन्ड का ये प्राइस चेंज होता है. 962 का प्राइस सडनली चेंज होकर 950 हो जाएगा. इफ द बॉन्ड प्राइस चेंजेस फ्रॉम 962 to 950 जो आपको स्टॉक मार्केट से मिल जाएगा, that is when we say that the market rate of interest is changing from 10% to let us say 10.34%. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है क्या आपको? Are we understanding or this is going above our heads? So this is how market rate of interest changes. Market rate of interest आप फाइंड कैसे करते हो? ऐसे कोई पब्लिश नहीं करता है market rate of interest. It is based on bond prices. You are saying that if investors were yesterday buying the bond at 962, now they are buying at 950, all else remaining constant. That means the investors are now expecting a higher return on these bonds. Maybe because RBI has increased the rate of interest 0.34%. तो आपको लग रहा है उसमें क्या है, बहुत ही बड़ा चेंज है. इतना चेंज एक दिन में होता नहीं है. But let us say it's in a single day, it's a big change. Let's say RBI comes out with the policy and says, आपने न्यूज़पेपर्स में पढ़ा रहेगा that RBI increases, let us say, the interest rates by 0.25%, by 0.5%. Bond prices will fluctuate dramatically, and that is because the investors are now expecting a different rate of return. Are we getting this? This is what is called as the yield to maturity. The return that you hold the bond, the return that you get if you hold the bond till maturity and invest at the current price. बराबर. अच्छा सर, इसका स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट हम कैसे निकालिए? 10 होना चाहिए, 11 होना चाहिए? वेल, this IR is the most accurate measure of yield. It takes time value, it takes all cash flows, it takes everything. अपन बोलते छोड़ो यार, टाइम वैल्यू वगैरह अभी नहीं करना है. If I want to take the approximate yield to maturity per annum, ignoring time value, approximately, remember this is per annum, which means we'll say yield is a return on investment. In the numerator you will take return में क्या आता है? Interest आता है, but interest is per annum, and capital gains आता है. Capital gains will be the redemption value which you will get if you hold the bond till maturity minus the market price at which you have invested. But this will give you capital gains at the end of the life. However, you want to say कि भैया मेरे को तो yield per annum चाहिए. So you're saying 37 earned once in the lifetime is equivalent to roughly 37 divided by or 50 earned once in the lifetime is equal to 50 divided by, let us say, roughly speaking, 5 years. So this is divided by n, and then you can either take the initial investment or even the average investment. Institute usually prefers the average investment, so we take that. That is the market price जो आप आज invest करोगे plus the redemption value divided by 2. So in our second working, interest would have been 90 and the capital appreciation would be 1000 minus 950. That is 50 per annum, but this will be earned over 5 years, which earned in the 5th year, which means on a per annum basis you will divide it by 5, and your investment on an average, आज तो आप 950 पे कर रहे हो, but ultimately आपका investment appreciate होते 1000 पे पहुंच जाएगा, because redemption 1000 पे होने वाला है. And hence on an average, if I were to take, this will be 50 divided by 5, that is 10 upon, let us say, 950, and this is 975. So this is, let us say, 100 upon 975. This comes to 10.25. अब देखो कितना क्लोज बाय है, दिस इज वेरी क्लोज बट दिस इज नॉट एक्यूरेट. 10.25 और 26% ऐसा केस में भी. आर वी गेटिंग दिस? सो आपको स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट मिलेगा, अपन बोलेंगे सबसे क्लोजेस्ट नंबर इससे 10% और उधर से आप स्टार्ट करोगे एंड यू विल डू इंटरपोलेशन. सर इन द एग्जाम इफ यू जस्ट शो दिस, इज इट फाइन? इट इज नॉट. योर मार्क्स विल बी डिडक्टेड. इट इज नॉट दैट दिस इज inaccurate, this is approximate. So if it's a 5 mark question, अगर आप सिर्फ इतना दिखाओगे आपको 3 मार्क मिलेंगे, 2 मार्क आपके कट हो जाएंगे. You will have to show this full working. अच्छा सर हमने ये वर्किंग नहीं दिखाया, डायरेक्टली IRR निकाला, आपको फुल 5 में से 5 मिलेंगे बिकॉज दिस इज द मोस्ट एक्यूरेट नंबर. सो सर हम दोनों क्यों देख रहे हैं? बिकॉज रिमेंबर इन द एग्जाम यू आर काइंड ऑफ फाइटिंग अ वॉर, यू आर फाइटिंग अ बैटल. समटाइम्स यू आर आउट ऑफ टाइम एंड यू आर आउट ऑफ टाइम. अगर आपने IRR आधा कैलकुलेट किया ना तो आपको 0 मार्क्स मिलता है. आपके पास बचा, और आपको इंटर सीए में भी आपने फेस किया रहेगा, आपके पास बचा है गिन के पेपर में फ्यू मिनट्स. नाउ यू हैव टू हैंडल दिस क्वेश्चन. इफ यू डू ट्रायल एंड एरर, यू आर डाउटफुल कि भाई टाइम भी बहुत लग जाएगा, मार्क्स अपने को शायद IRR आया नहीं, मिलेगा नहीं. देन आई वुड सजेस्ट यू एटलीस्ट डू दिस, फाइंड एन अप्रोक्सीमेट नंबर. द एग्जामिनर विल गिव यू 3 marks out of 5, but he will not give you a 0. If you reach till this stage and do not end up finding this answer, you will get a 0. Stepwise marking does not mean एक equal to साइन करो आपको उसका मार्क्स मिलता है. एक लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन पे आप पहुंचो, वहां पे माना जाता है स्टेप कंप्लीट हुआ है. तो unless you reach this 10.34, you are not going to get marks. So you just need to know something like this exists. Though this is less accurate, this will give you 2 benefits. First, it will help you in your approximate working to find a starting point. Second, it will help you in case you are out of time. Okay, so I think we are out of time now. Let me know if you have any queries. If you want to raise hands, ask questions, I'll be open to it. Please do let me know. कल इसके बारे में अपन नोट्स लिखेंगे, सम सॉल्व करेंगे, डिटेल में इसको डिस्कस करेंगे. दिस इज द मोस्ट एक्यूरेट मेजर ऑफ रिटर्न और यील्ड. देयर विल बी अदर मेजर्स एज वेल, बट वी हैव डन द मोस्ट एक्यूरेट वन. एनी डाउट्स, एनी प्रॉब्लम्स? प्लीज डू लेट मी नो. अरे यस और नो कुछ तो बोलो. यू सेंड दिस. ओके, आई विल, बट अदरवाइज आप आई मीन इवन इफ वी विल बी डूइंग मल्टीपल सच सम्स, आप खुद थक जाओगे. Okay, fair. You can take this. Anything else? No? Okay, chalo. I'll see you tomorrow. Please do practice whatever has been done. And tomorrow we will go to the yields, the returns, and slightly more advanced concepts of bond working. I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Goodbye. Take care.